supposed to do something there? Was it G5? Okay. Very good. Water? Oh, that's because we have them all. Oh, okay. All right, and do we have a student for the pledge? It's okay, I can do it if, yes, we do. Okay. All right. Very good. Welcome to our board meeting, and thank you those who participated in our ceremony outside. It was a really great way to start our evening. We did have closed session. We do have a full board. Sorry, let me get my order here. We do have a full board here tonight. Thank you everybody for making it. We did take an action in closed session. I'll come back for the pledge.
Let's read out.
Read out.
All right, in closed session today, by motion of member Darren Drum, seconded by member Maya Phillips, the board approved an expulsion with a suspended enforcement of student number 23.11 through May 9, 2025. The roll call vote of the board was as follows. The ayes were Dan Summers, Maya Phillips, Don Perfect, Darren Drum, Roger Dome. There was nobody in opposition and nobody who abstained.
Is that your only readout for now? Very good, thank you. All right, so tonight is our featured school, Barnett Elementary, and we are orderly. I am calling someone forward to say the pledge right now from Barnett Elementary. I will not skip it. All right, so Barnett Elementary, do we have a student to lead us in the pledge tonight? Oh, okay. That would be great. Very nice. Please stand and do so.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us with that. And Roger, thank you for making sure I don't skip anything. Because sometimes I do. So thank you. Okay, so we do have a quorum. Everyone is welcome. We've made our announcement of closed session. And now instructions for addressing the governing board.
Good evening. The Ramona Unified School District welcomes your participation in the district's school board meetings. Your participation assures us of continuing community interest in our schools. To assist you in the ease of speaking and or participating in our meetings, the following guidelines are provided. Orange request to be heard cards are available to all audience members who wish to speak on any agenda item or under the category of item E, which is public comment. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes per person or 15 minutes per item. Please submit your completed orange cards to the board's recording secretary in advance of the item presentation. Orange request to be heard cards will not be accepted once the agenda item has commenced. Speakers are asked to direct all comments to the members of the board. All participants are asked to be respectful of other speakers when they are addressing the board. Public comment is set aside for members of the audience to raise issues that are not specifically on the agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes per person or 15 minutes per item. Public comments may be submitted online at the link listed at the top of the agenda. Please note that electronically submitted comments will be printed and distributed to the board members, but they will not be read aloud during the meeting.
Thank you, Darren. All right, we're now on item C5, and that's approval of the agenda.
I'll move approval.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That carries unanimously. Item C6 is approval of the consent calendar. Items marked with an asterisk in the agenda.
I'll move approval. Go ahead.
Make request
Yes?
to consider items G2 and H1 separately, please.
Okay, G2 and
H1.
H1. All right. So is your motion to approve with those items pulled? And that means we'll
Yes.
talk about them and
That's
take action
correct, yes.
separately. Okay, very good. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Darren. All in favor?
Aye.
And if I get to those items, don't hesitate to give me a nudge if I move through them without stopping. Okay. All right, we are now on section D, recognitions and presentations, which we've been doing a lot of today already. Wonderful. And as I mentioned, we have Barnett Elementary here tonight.
Thank you all for having us and allowing us to showcase our school. My name is Megan Maris. I'm the principal of Barnett. But I would be remiss if I didn't invite all of you back up tonight to the teacher and your recipient, because without them, none of it would be. Come on up. So we put together a video that we hope you enjoy. It showcases all of our wonderful science activities, our field trips that we've gone on, our incredibly deep conversations in class. And I did have to talk faster, I didn't have so much to get through, so I hope you. Welcome to Barnett Elementary School, a place where every day is an adventure in learning and discovery. Our academic programs are designed to spark curiosity and foster critical thinking skills. From dissecting owl pellets to exploring the fascinating world of beetles, conducting experiments to determine which habitats insects prefer, and observing the magic of plant growth by adding worms to the soil. Our students are hands-on learners, exploring the wonders of the natural world. In our science labs, students delve into the intricacies of biology, from dissecting cow eyes to unraveling the mysteries of living organisms. But it's not all about academics. We also believe in promoting health and wellness. Our annual Ultra Fun Run is a testament to the active involvement of our school community. And when it's time to unwind, families come together for family movie night, where students from RHS judge the car decorating contest for added fun. Our social events, like the Monster Mash, are a celebration of our strong community spirit, bringing students, families, and staff together. Beyond the classroom, students explore the world with our new U.S. and space maps, expanding their horizons and igniting their curiosity. Our students are not just scholars, but artists, musicians, and performers. Our annual talent show is a showcase of our diverse talents and passions. And speaking of family, our Father-Daughter Decades Dance is a unique event where cherished memories are made and bonds are strengthened. The excitement continues with our Spring Carnival, a day filled with games, rides, and laughter for the whole family to enjoy. At Barnett Elementary, we recognize the invaluable contributions of our volunteers. Our volunteer tea is a time to express gratitude for their dedication and support, and it's a testament to the strong community spirit that thrives here. Our school calendar has festive events and traditions, from celebrating Pi Day with fun math activities and pie to setting traps for leprechauns on St. Patrick's Day. As students advance through our grades, they embark on exciting adventures like visiting BizTown, where they experience real-world scenarios and apply their knowledge in a simulated city environment. Our sixth graders culminate their elementary journey with the Greek festival, immersing themselves in ancient culture and traditions. Ensuring the safety of our students is paramount. Our Safety Patrol program teaches responsibility and leadership while ensuring students are safe entering and exiting the vehicles. Our WIN program provides individualized instruction in reading for students who need additional support, ensuring every child receives the help they need to succeed. From Bobcat bashes to singing our school song with pride, the spirit of community and camaraderie thrives here.
Wow. Okay, that was the big
Okey-dokey.
finish, I guess. Right? Very nice. What a lovely video. And I know some of us were able to visit your site last night for the open house. It was a really nice evening. Thank you so much. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so moving on, I do know that when we did our items on consent, we had a couple of new hires that are in the room with us tonight. Would you like to introduce them?
Yes, thank you very much, President Perfect, members of the board and community. Thank you for being here this evening. We have 3 new administrators to welcome to our Ramona administrative team and to our educational community. So we'll start with Courtney Sawada, thank you, looked like an M, Sawada, for the RCC campus with starting with us for next school year. So if you'd please stand, we'll just recognize you. Thank you for being here tonight. Congratulations. Thank you. We also have Dr. Stephanie Osowski here with us this evening for Mount Woodson. So thank you for being here. And we also have Jack Larkin, going to be the next assistant principal at Ramona High School. We appreciate our 3 new administrators and just the long process that you all went through and then culminating tonight. So congratulations. Welcome.
Very nice. Thank you so much. And we did have the opportunity to meet a little bit earlier this evening, and what fine additions to our team. So thank you so much for joining us tonight and for what you're about to do for our students. Okay, so we now have a special recognition, and that is Ramona Unified School District's 2024 valedictorians. Yay!
Good evening, President Perfect, members of the board and community. It's our great opportunity tonight and privilege to recognize our valedictorians at our high schools. I'm going to read a little bit about this. The highest academic honor that can be awarded to a graduating senior is earning the title of valedictorian. Traditionally, a student earns the top rank in his or her class by achieving the highest grade point average among the graduating seniors. In some instances, schools consider other factors along with grade point average to identify the school's valedictorian. At this meeting, staff will take the opportunity to present the valedictorians from our 3 high school programs to the board for their proper recognition. This year's Ramona Unified School District valedictorians are, and when I call your name, please come up. Mrs. Wilson's going to help us here. From Montecito High School, Kira Cardinal. Can Kira come up, please? Kira is involved in theater class at MVA. She does theater at the Patio Playhouse and Grand Facade. She is a Thrive student worker, which we greatly appreciate, and an ASB student leader. She's also a peer tutor and volunteer at Ramona Elementary and Mount Woodson. She plans to attend Palomar College in the fall and major in business. She will also take theater classes and general education. She was recognized by the Ramona Rotary in January as a Student of the Month from Montecito High School, and she has scholarships that are pending right now. So we're hoping for the best for you there. Kira's principal writes that she's an outstanding student and member of our school community. She is an actor at heart with a strong presence, wry and witty sense of humor, and a hard worker. Kira works hard at school and is very committed to her extracurricular activities, including acting in local theater, working part-time, and volunteering. Kira is a role model for students and a joy for our staff. Congratulations. Yeah, we'll get pictures. Yes. All right. For Mountain Valley Academy, we have Hannah Madison. Thank you, Hannah. All right. Hannah has been the ASB secretary for 22-23 and 23-24. She's on the yearbook staff for the 23-24 school year, and she's a student dance teacher from 2020 through 2024. She's also a student teaching assistant with dance from 22 through 2024. Participates in the community with tutoring from 2020 to 2024, and a volunteer at her church for 2020 to 24. She also, after high school, plans to attend college with an engineering major. She has received the Mountain Valley Academy Outstanding Scholarship Award between 2018 and 2024. Outstanding student in leadership, physics, and integrated math 2. She's been a Rotary Student of the Month and overall placements in various dance competitions, both solo and group dances. So Hannah's principal says that Hannah exemplifies the best of independent study. Daily, she gracefully weaves together classes at MVA, Ramona High, and her dance studio. Hannah stands out as having the intelligence, motivation, and maturity that is the foundation for excellence in high school, in college, and beyond. Her curiosity, creativity, and growth mindset contribute to our positive MVA school culture. She leaves us better. Congratulations. All right, so we have 2 valedictorians for Ramona High School. So I would like to ask Emma Beck to come forward and David Palomino. So Emma participates in the Environmental Club, is the co-president. She's the vice president of NHS, secretary of the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and co-president of Femineers. Emma enjoys hiking, riding bikes, also participated in martial arts for 10 years. Emma has participated in the following community projects: Tree Plenish, where 240 trees were planted across Ramona; Femineers, elementary STEM; food drives with the RHS Food Pantry; tutoring of multiple students; recycling on the RHS campus; and fundraising for various activities and groups. Plans after high school: Emma has been accepted to the following: UC Riverside, UC Santa Barbara, Cal State University San Marcos. All still waiting on UC Irvine and UCSD. So Emma would like to study math and possibly study to become an actuary. Emma has received the following awards and scholarships. She's a co-valedictorian for the RHS class of 2024, Intro to Design Student of the Year in 2021, Spanish 2 and Critical Issues Student of the Year in 2022, and Spanish 3 Student of the Year in 2023. Emma works very hard at all her academics as she strives for the best. Her principal writes that Emma is very family-oriented. All her teachers commend her for her hard work and her drive to do well. Congratulations, Emma. All right, David Palomino. Extracurricular activity. David starts every day by going to the gym and getting in a good workout. Congratulations. David also participates in RHS volleyball for 2 years, 1 season JV and senior season of varsity. Part-time mechanic. He's been working on cars since the 6th grade with his dad. Red Cross Club for 3 years, responsible for helping schedule and run blood drives on campus. NHS for 2 years, generally enjoys tutoring people. Community service. David has participated in Fusion at RHS, participating in campus beautification, painting building signs, benches, and tables on campus, putting in bricks, ground covering at the entrance of the pool, painted the hurdles for the track team, currently is working on sprucing up the team locker rooms. He's done ground clearing and anything else that Mr. Plum asks of the Fusion Bulldogs. Plans after high school. David will most likely commit to UCLA. David will be studying neuroscience, study of the brain, wants to be a neuro-oncologist. David plans on working with patients with brain cancer and wants to pay it forward. Awards and scholarships. David has received the co-valedictorian for RHS for 2024, AP Biology Student of the Year in 2023, and several AP Student of the Year awards. David's principal writes that David is meticulous and can really think outside the box. He truly cares about everyone he works with and helps. David expanded his education by also taking college-level math courses. David has been a true Fusion leader on the RHS campus. David has the passion for his education and to succeed in the medical field. Congratulations, David.
Amazing. Yeah, pictures would be great. Okay, so we'll come around to you.
Yeah.
That was an impressive list of accomplishments with those students.
Yes.
Okay, we are now on item D3, and that's reports from our student board members. So Natalie, why don't you lead us off?
Good evening. My name is Natalie Wren, and I am the student board representative from Ramona High School. Thank you to Dr. Thurman, President Perfect, and the board and cabinet for having me here tonight and providing me with the opportunity to represent Ramona High School. To start off, AP testing has started this week with AP Gov and will end next week with APES. Our staff appreciation is this week, and our ASB team has been celebrating the staff along with our PTSA all week. They've been given snacks, a lunch, and notes written by students. We have some very exciting events coming up really soon. We have our prom on May 18th from 7 to 10 at the California Center for the Arts. Our senior week, May 20th through the 24th, with that Monday being our senior excursion to Knott's Berry Farm. And Powder Puff is on May 31st at 6:30 with seniors wearing blue and black and juniors wearing pink and white. We hope to see you there, especially in your blue and black. Which will lead us into our last week of school with our senior breakfast, senior walk, and graduation. Our awards night is being held on Thursday the 16th with the freshman through junior ceremony at 6 and the senior ceremony at 7:15. Scholarship night is on May 23rd at the RHS stage. Both awards night and scholarship nights are invite only. We want to extend a big thank you to our Ramona community for all of the support given to Ramona High School for our scholarship night. For our sports, our Winter Guard competed in their final competition in Huntington Beach and placed 3rd overall. Our Winter Guard has not received a medal since 2018, so we are very proud of this huge accomplishment. Our Ramona Boys Golf are 2024 Valley League co-champions with a record of 14-5. We also have 2 athletes who qualified for CIF as individuals, Christian Burton and Alex Morgano. Our baseball team had their senior night on Tuesday, and our softball had their senior night tonight. As they wrap up the season, they still each have a few games to play before they find out if they make CIF, but we wish them good luck. For track, Sterling Bryant, a junior at RHS, has just broken a 44-year-old Ramona High hurdle record of 14.6 that he has now broken with his time of 14.52. This is also a new Valley League meet record. Thank you so much for having me here tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity to represent the amazing community at Ramona High School.
Thank you. Very nice report. All right, Thomas, you're up.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Campbell, and I am the student representative for for MVA High School. I would like to thank Dr. Thurman, President Perfect, and the board and cabinet members for allowing me to speak today and represent the MVA student voice this year. To start off, the Casino Night Dance held on April 12th was well attended. PTSA and ASB volunteers helped feed Bike Across California participants on April 12th at the baseball fields. Some upcoming events this month include Awards Night on May 14th, Mustache Day on May 16th, and we are going to Belmont Park for our end of year trip on May 31st. 8th grade promotion, senior walk, and graduation are all on June 4th. Lastly, I would like to thank Dr. G, Mrs. Hicks, and Miss Phillips Dodson for everything they have done at our school. I have been attending this school for 10 years, and they have had a positive impact on our school and campus culture for the many years they have been here. I know our school has been truly lucky to have them, and everyone at our school will miss them very much. I wish them all the best in their retirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice report. All right, now item D4, report from California School Employee Association, Chapter 733. All right, thank you for being here. Item D5 is a report from Ramona Teachers Association. Hello. It's helpful.
Thank you. Is it already on? Hello. tonight's a lot. So here we go. It's that time of year. First, we want to say a huge thank you to all of the PTSA groups and admin around the district for all that they have done to celebrate staff this week. Staff has enjoyed all the kind words and, of course, the snacks. We had an all-district band concert last Friday night. There were 135 instrumentalists performing together at the OPMS gym. Next Thursday, May 16th, is the Spring Band concert. They will be performing a world premiere piece that they commissioned by Giovanni Santos. Kind of a big deal because this is the first time the piece will ever be played, so it will always say Ramona High School at the top of each sheet of music whenever it is purchased. A colleague suggests that you check out Joanna O'Neill's MAPS math test scores at James Dukes. Her kids rocked it. Mrs. Guzman received a grant from Delta Kappa Gamma to start a garden for the MOD program at Ramona Elementary. She also wants to share that her students have shown tremendous progress in CGI math with the help of TOSA Mr. Filson coming in to coach and work with her. First grade at Barnett has chicken eggs in the incubators. They should be hatching next week. They're also growing plants, and spring MAPS testing is in full force there as well, and all students are working diligently to show everything they have learned. Montecito High School's ASB held a blood drive with the San Diego Blood Bank on Wednesday, May 8th, and they want to say a huge thanks to students, staff, and community members who donated to help save lives. 4 Montecito seniors participated in the Skills USA National Signing Day on May 7th. Skills USA, in partnership with the Lowe's Foundation, is honoring students who are going into the skilled trades. 2 of those 4 students will begin their electrician apprenticeships, and other 2 will focus on carpentry and framing. So a huge kudos to their CTE program at Montecito. Hanson Elementary has done a lot this last month. They had their annual barbecue with their open house. It was a huge success. All of the classrooms and hallways were decked out with student work. They greatly appreciated the time that the board members and superintendent took to come visit classrooms and participate in the gathering. 5th grade had their colonial fair. Students led classmates and families through many activities. 6th grade has continued their tradition of their ancient festival. Students planned activities that represented a geographic civilization of choice. They shared this event with classmates and family members. RCMS 5th and 6th graders are putting on the musical Tangled this week, and the RCMS Olympics are underway with the 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 6th graders competing for points over a 5-week span. A small group of students, this one really touched my heart, just throwing it out there, a small group of students went out of their way to create an experience for a student in the MOD Severe program at OPMS. These students came together to purchase a Cristiano Ronaldo jersey for a student in one of the special day classes. The student came into class glowing with happiness this week and could not wait to show off his new jersey. This group of RUSD students went out of their way to make a student feel accepted and included on campus and are true spirit ambassadors. This was done with kindness and consideration on their collective behalf with absolutely no interest in recognition or acknowledgement. RHS had over 100 students perform to 3 sold-out shows of over 750 audience members supporting the talented dancers. If you missed it, they would like you to know, please join next year. It's very inspiring to see the students' creativity and talent. The dancers also collaborated with alumni as well as Mr. Marshall's students with special needs. Mr. Marshall's students got to perform on stage to a fun song from the new Trolls movie, proudly smiling and wearing their Trolls shirts. RHS Spanish classes celebrated Cinco de Mayo, learning about the history of Puebla, eating, and doing some typical artwork. Spanish 3 students learned all about and created their own can't pronounce it, but some bark painting for Cinco de Mayo Cultural Focus Day. So check out the photos that are posted on RTA social media. Lastly, personal one for me, I want to share about the care closet at Ramona High School. I do want to say a huge thank you to Marcy Hayes and her husband and staff for all of their help to make this happen for our students. Without sharing personal information, I just want to share a quick story. I had a student come in to talk to me about needing a new set of textbooks this year after they had already been given a set. Through that process, I learned that a staff member had to file a CPS report against those parents, which then prompted the parents to kick the child out when they turned 18. This left the student with absolutely nothing. Through the generosity of our staff and community, we were able to get that child clothes, shoes, new textbooks, and more than anything, we were able to show that student that there are adults in this world who care and that child is worth it. Through the resources with our school social worker, that student will now be attending a 4-year university in the fall, and they are absolutely thriving. This is just one of the so many stories of our students in RUSD. While school is definitely about learning, it is also about helping students with their basic needs so they're capable of coming to school and being able to learn. Marcy is hoping to expand this beyond RHS, and I truly hope all sites take advantage of this opportunity. Meeting the needs of our students should always be first and foremost, and all students deserve the bare necessities of life. And I'm extremely proud of RHS for providing this for our students so they can have a safe and caring place and be able to focus on that schoolwork. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Section E, public comment. Do we have any cards?
We do not.
Moving on to Section F, Education Services, addressing item F2, and that's a report on the English Language Development Master Plan.
Good evening, board members. I am excited tonight to tell you that we have Robin Aaron, Director of Student Learning Support Services, and Cheryl Armstrong, a teacher on assignment, here to present the RUSD English Learner Master Plan that is designed to meet the expectations of the California EL Roadmap Policy. This master plan was developed in partnership with students, parents, ELD paraeducators, teachers, counselors, and site and district administrators. The district advisory committees, DAC and DLAC, were also shared this and asked for guidance and provided input and approved this plan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having us today, and we are so excited to share with you the RUSD English Learner Master Plan. This has been years of work to put together collaboratively with all of our educational partners, so we're very excited to share with you. Our plan is based on the California EL Roadmap, which is California's policy for improving outcomes for our English learners, and they're based on these 4 principles. Principle 1, assets-oriented and needs-responsive schools. Principle 2, intellectual quality of instruction and meaningful access. Principle 3, systems conditions that support effectiveness. And Principle 4, alignment and articulation within and across systems.
So, thank you. We started this process back in 2021 after looking at our data from 2020, which showed that we were not having the outcomes that we were expecting for our English learner students. What transpired then was a journey to align our ELD plan with the the California roadmap for ELs. And we started in 2021 working with the San Diego County Office of Education, working with our educational partners, and having questions around what was important for our English learners and how can we best help them succeed. Going into 2022 to 23, we developed our master plan, mission, and vision, and worked with our teachers, our site leaders, our counselors, our paraeducators, our parents, our students. It was truly a collaborative effort, and we're super excited that we were able to come together and create a mission and vision around that. Moving into 2022, 23, and now through all of our focus groups and our revisions and going back and forth with our educational partners, we have come up with a plan that you have, that we're in line with our EL roadmap, and we are on target to, we're ready for implementation and monitoring for that. So our EL Master Plan mission was created again with lots of revisions and lots of conversations with all of our educational partners. Our mission is that RUSD welcomes all English learner students and their families through a culture of collaboration and open communication. RUSD accesses students' existing strengths to enhance motivation and build confidence so that all students are prepared for college, career, and life goals. We built our plan around that mission, as well as this vision. RUSD provides meaningful, high-quality learning opportunities for English learners to engage in rigorous, standards-based content. Students build English language proficiency to achieve academic and linguistic competence to prepare for all opportunities in their future.
The plan actually is, it's comprised of many different components, and as you'll see here on this and the next slide, what those components are. But Sean, would you be able to click into the EL identification and programs at the very top, that blue link? Thank you. And so what the plan does is, in this one particular section, it just covers how we do business here in Ramona Unified regarding our English learner students. So the purpose of this document, it's to provide guidance to all of our school site teammates and district teammates, regardless of turnover or shift, how we are going to first identify students, starting with that home language survey as in identifying their English language acquisition status as a to be determined, all of the assessments regarding whether or not the student requires English language development support, including compliance deadlines, notifications to families and school sites, and then it covers all of the, it goes through the process regarding what programs that they'll be involved in, what supports they'll receive, the assessments that they'll engage in annually, all the way through reclassification, and then monitoring them after reclassification, because of course we don't want anybody to just, sink after they've reclassified. It's a supported system for 4 years. Again, all in line with that policy of the EL roadmap from California. And thank you if you go back to the presentation. So in the presentation, all of the links are there, and then up at the very top, should you care to see the whole plan, it's available for you there. And next slide, please. Oh, that is the next slide. I'm sorry. So there we go. So we definitely have components that not only address the identification. Of course, our families are a major, major part of our student success. So we talk about all of the engagement that we do through our school site ELACs and our district DLAC, about providing supports not only to our students but also to our families, and then monitoring student progress throughout.
So this was definitely a collaborative effort. We want to thank all of the people who had a hand in providing guidance and revisions in this. You can see it's a pretty lengthy list. We did take our, not only we had focus groups, we took the plan to our DAC and our DLAC and our DLAC family leadership, as well as our English Learner Leadership Committee, and we really are thankful for everyone who was involved and all the time and brain power that they put into this program.
Our data shows that our English learner students are not meeting the rigor of the grade level standards right now in many, many areas. And so we really need to focus in on on our instructional strategies and our ability to accelerate learning. And this is a living document that will really help guide us to ensure that our English learner students are experiencing all of the successes and meeting all of the expected outcomes that we have for them. Thank you.
All right, this is an information item, no action, but board members, do you have any questions about this? There's a lot here. There's a lot here.
I have a few questions. So you laid out beautifully your mission and vision statement. So what are your goals at the end of, because you laid it out,
26,
26, yeah. What are you hoping to achieve that's not written on here?
I'm
just curious.
The gold standard, and that is really it. So we want every student, but particularly our English learner students, to be able to engage in every lesson, to be participants in every classroom discussion, activity, task, investigation, all of it, regardless of whether or not they are proficient in English. And so that requires a lot of things. It requires that the classroom is structured and set up for collaboration, for discussion, for student talk. It requires a teacher or a support teammate to be able to help build language for that student, and not just giving them vocabulary, but really helping them identify the function of language, when to ask a question, when to ask for help, when to provide information, how to discuss and engage a conversation, not just a one-way, I tell you what I think and that's it, but to really engage in that conversation. Why? Because that's what's going to feed into those critical thinking skills, those the ability for students to really engage and discuss and debate and evaluate and analyze whatever the content is put in front of them. And so then that also requires integrated and designated English language development in the classrooms. And so there is a lot of support that is needed for the students, but we need to be able to make sure that every student has that in a way that's doable for the teacher, and not making it just this massive load that is just this thing that's not achievable. And that's what we're expecting in a year.
In a year.
Just like
Well,
that.
we're going to get there.
I have a question.
I'm impatient.
I have a question. Last year, there was a presentation about teaching our students how to read, and I was thrilled when I found out that phonetics was coming back into the program. Now, people my age learned how to read with phonetics, but somehow, over the years, it had fallen into disfavor. And I was thrilled to find out it was coming back. But that's a different application, teaching students how to read, than the English learner application. And I'm wondering if phonetics is part of that program as well.
Yes, it is. Our students, through designated ELD, learn how English works. And there is targeted focus on phonics, on vocabulary, very foundational reading skills. And so this is when students have a designated time throughout the day through designated ELD, they have that structure put into place so that they can be confident with their content learning.
And just to add to that, part of that mission or vision, that word confidence is there, because a lot of our English learner students actually know a lot more, but they don't have the confidence to be able to really engage and share what they know. And so that confidence piece is really what we want to work on. And in designated ELD settings, that's where kids get the ability to practice and try in a very safe way, so that they have the confidence to use that with peers and in front of their teacher in the whole general class setting.
Would you mind sharing the definition of designated and integrated ELD?
Of course. So integrated ELD, did you want to? Okay. Integrated ELD is the idea behind it is so that students really can access the content, right? So the main focus is the content, and it is support with language so that kids can access the content. In designated ELD, it's typically done in a smaller group. It doesn't have to be for a particular amount of time, but it has to focus on the ELD standards and essentially understanding the function of language. And so it explains how English works.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you mentioned those two, and you mentioned integrated. So I'm assuming you mean integrated in any classroom. So yeah. So the professional development for all teachers. I'm assuming you've already had that. What did that look like, or you're going to have it? I don't know.
It's looked very different across, like we've had lots of different opportunities to share. We are definitely working, part of the plan is to create a professional learning plan moving forward that is stronger and more impactful to the teachers and the support that they need, but then also eventually to the students. And so some of the things that we have done, are you asking what we've done in the past or what we're going to do in the future?
I think more in the future. I'm just curious how you're integrating that support in the classroom. I mean, maybe some of it's technology. I'm not really sure. I'm just curious. I mean, I think this is a great plan. I think this is extremely needed. But anything that, as we hear it, level, anything that we can do to support it. So I'd like to know what it.
Thank you all so much for your support and your excitement over this. We can't thank you enough. But we're really just excited because we are going to really fold this into our Ramona leadership team, which we feel has been a very impactful way to help build a common professional learning understanding across the district through all schools, and to explain each school site brings a leadership team together, and we meet here in this room, and it's a packed full house, and we have a lot of fun learning and thinking and talking and doing, and all around our instructional focus and ways that we can accelerate student learning. And one of the things that we really are going to focus in on as we move forward next year is folding in those universal design of learning strategies, where that's really helping all learners access the content as well as ELD. So in everything that is threaded through RLT, you're going to see UDL and ELD instructional strategies, and then that way those leadership teams will take it back out to every school site, and there's going to be an expectation of at least practicing and trying, implementing, and then reflecting, and we're just going to baby step it out so that everybody can do this in, like we said, in a doable way that doesn't feel like one more thing or an individual plan for every kid.
And additionally, it's also rolled into our new staff pathways program for all of our new staff coming in the fall. We're excited to be able to embed those strategies along the way and call them out specifically so that we all have a common language around ELD instruction.
And then lastly, it's just supported in every issue of the news from 9th. I'm not sure if you've had an opportunity to see. It's a monthly newsletter that is produced from our team, and it provides teacher tips, tricks, resources, things to think about. It's a newsletter, and it's always reinforced each month as well.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Thank you guys very much for coming and presenting. You guys did a great job. But you know where you really excelled is in the question and answer period. You guys lit up, and it's clear that your passion is immense. And I want you to know I truly appreciate that passion and your command of the subject. Great job. Thanks for being here.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, we are now on. It is.
It's been a labor of love for those two, I have to say.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
incredible team.
All right, ready? All right, item F3 is a report on the pilot of instructional materials for history, social science, K through 8.
Good evening, board members. As you know, in December, we somewhat wrapped up our history pilot and adoption cycle for 9 through 12, which now means we are moving ahead with K through 8. We have already taken teachers to look at texts and have selected, evaluated and selected texts to be brought forth as an information item for them to pilot in the upcoming school year. So sharing this, that all of these pilot materials listed here will be piloted in fall of 2024 and hope to be brought back if they are acceptable at the board meeting in May of 2025. As with all of our pilots, now they will not only be available in the hallway for parents and community members, but they will also go in front of school site council, DAC, DLAC, and they'll also be added to the instructional materials survey that we have posted on the website for any community members or parents to also provide input for. This is just an information item letting you know that those materials will be piloted in the fall.
Okay, very good. Board members, any questions?
Just, are there, along with these textbooks, were there additional consumables that they use, as well as any supplementals along with these? I'm just curious.
I'm sure that all of them have some sort of, I feel like every publisher provides a textbook, some online, something, supplementals, digital resources, all of those pieces. I haven't seen each of those individual pieces for each of the publishers yet, but as we get started with the pilot and we dig more in, I'll be looking at those more closely.
So if the teachers choose to use those, when the report comes back in a year, if we could hear how valuable or
absolutely. Anytime,
not valuable they are.
Yes, anytime we do the district-wide adoption, we bring back that whole presentation and the teacher voice to share with you about what they liked about those materials or what parents said about those materials. It's really important for us to bring that whole enchilada back in a presentation for you after they've been piloted, if they're coming back for to request the board for adoption.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, item F4 is approval of new course of study, Earth Science for Adult Education. And I don't remember approving adult ed materials before, so that's great.
I can't speak to whether you have approved a course of study for adult ed before, but we need to.
Right, that's great.
And so moving forward with adult education, we are bringing forth an Earth Science course that meets the California State graduation requirements and has been brought forth by Dr. Maravich at the Adult Ed School, and you'll see that this meets the education requirements and covers the Earth system standards for adult education. This is a discussion possible action item.
Thank you. All right. Questions, or would someone like to move approval?
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Roger.
I'll second.
Thank you, Maya. All in favor?
Aye.
That carries unanimously. All right, item F5, that's approval of instructional materials for AP US History and AP European History.
Governing Board, as you might recall, back in December, the board approved all of the history books, both AP history books and for our core classes. And one of the last questions that the board asked of me was, these are the most current copyright, correct? I believe that was President Perfect who asked that question. And at the time, to our knowledge, that was a yes. When RHS went to submit the purchase for those textbooks, the publisher came back and said, oh, do you want the newer one? And we said, well, yes, but that means we need to take it back to the board for approval again, because it is a different copyright. There were some things added to this text. It is the same publisher. It is the same text essentially, except for the added components. This is being brought back for adoption, and they have been in review, and it's a discussion possible action.
Okay, so let's discuss.
I have some comments.
Yes.
Leslie sent us a letter about these books. And in the end, and I quote, "During the pilot, if the board, parents, or community members find areas in any of the texts that they would like to draw the attention of the teachers to ensure any elimination of bias, Education Services will collect that information in a survey posted on the Ramona Unified School District website." Well, I looked at the new version of Give Me Liberty, and I am appalled. Appalled. I don't use that term very often, at what I found. Maya wrote a letter. She had gone over this book extensively, and she wrote a letter to all the board members pointing out the issues that she found in this book. And I followed her letter, and I found the same issues. And if I could, I'd like to share them with the audience and with the board and with the administration. It seems that I read through from about 1980 up to the second year of the Biden administration. During that time, there were 2 Republican presidents and 2 Democrat presidents. The Republican presidents were George Bush Jr. and Donald Trump, and the Democrats were Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Well, this is what I could not help but notice. The Republican presidents were treated as pariah during their administrations. Anything they did was presented in the negative. And the 2 Democrat presidents, Obama and Biden, were treated like superheroes. Read it yourself. Draw your own conclusion. But I have some quotes here that I'd like to read. And this is not only referring to Republican presidents, it's referring to some of the social upheaval at the time. In Ferguson, Missouri, Michael Brown's death inspired weeks of sometimes violent street demonstrations. Let me point out that billions of dollars in damage were done to cities all over America, and at least 24 police officers died during these riots, sometimes violent. These led to the deployment of state police, National Guardsmen dressed in battle gear armed with assault rifles and armored personnel carriers, as if equipped for a war zone overseas. A sign of how policing had become militarized since the 1960s. In Ferguson, investigations after the death of Michael Brown revealed that the almost entirely white police, city government, and local judiciary regularly preyed on black residents, seeing them not as citizens to be served and protected, but as a source of revenue to balance the local budget. Blacks were hauled into court to pay fines for non-existent driving violations, jaywalking, or even walking on the sidewalks too close to the street. Now, if this book is supposed to be unbiased and present a historical perspective that is not one-sided, this fails dramatically. In regards to President Bush, there's 5 pages on President Bush. I could not find a positive statement. I mean President Trump, I apologize. Trump condemned immigrants from Mexico as murderers and rapists galvanizing supporters for promising to build a wall along the long border with Mexico to stop people from entering the country. It was not just Trump that decided to build that wall. Congress authorized the construction of the wall. But this book puts it solely in the hands of President Trump. Trump appealed successfully to nostalgia for a time when people of color and women knew their place. No bias there. Trump also understood that on social media, insults, bragging, and even expressions of hatred garnered the most attention. Now, these are just a couple little things that I picked out, but there's 5 pages of this. Even when Trump, they recognized the tax cut that Trump gave during his administration that cut taxes for everybody in the country. They described it as only cutting taxes for the wealthy. Not accurate, not true, but very biased. So I have a problem with this book. I don't want an innocent mind, not knowing that history, to be influenced by this book and the biases contained. Thank you for your time.
Okay, who's next?
So I did prepare a memo that I sent to our education department and to every board member, and it was based on the previous edition because I prepared it in preparation for the previous vote, and the page numbers are corresponding to the previous edition, but also it was increasingly biased in the 20th century, and I just going through the pages, randomly looking at something, I found something that was absolutely inaccurate or biased, and I just couldn't believe what I saw. Also, this book is written by Eric Foner, who is Professor Emeritus of Columbia University. And what do we know about Columbia University recently? What kind of students does this faculty produce? Columbia University was the worst in the news in regard with the protests. And are we going to allow anything that comes out of Columbia University into our district? And then I'm very concerned what those textbooks will produce for our students. Another author was professor from Harvard. The same story in the news regarding the protests. Another professor, another author, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, also very notorious, all of them very notorious in the news on the same topic. Yeah, I'm very worried what those professors wrote, and that's what's going to have consequences for our district. The same way it had consequences in the institutions of higher learning where they educated their students. I don't know if I can trust anything that comes out of those universities anymore. Of course, I can give a lot of examples. Textbook didn't provide both viewpoints on the ERA, Equal Rights Amendment movement, in a fair manner. I can see clear negative attitude towards Phyllis Schlafly. It's clearly visible. I have all page numbers for the previous edition. The author misrepresents Phyllis Schlafly's arguments against ERA. She claimed that the amendment would take away the rights to be a housewife. Not correct. She was presenting different arguments, and it's all in, it can be found if somebody is looking. The author used this condescending and sarcastic tone when describing church and religion during the 70s, openly mocking it. Although it spoke, it's a quote, although it spoke of restoring traditional values, the religious right proved remarkably adept at using modern technology, including mass mailings and televised religious programming, to raise funds for their crusade and spread their message. Christian conservatives seemed most agitated by the ongoing sexual revolution. California conservatives also embraced the new anti-tax mood. So it all seems to me like they're mocking conservatives. Also viciously attacks Ronald Reagan and conservatives. I also have quotes. Reagan made conservatism seem progressive rather than an attempt to turn back the tide of progress. Okay. Reagan proved remarkably successful at seizing control of the terms of public debate. Expression seizing control usually has negative connotations. The author falsely claims something in the context of the 80s that black workers, traditionally the last hired and first fired, were hit hard by economic changes. I'm not sure it was true in the 80s that black workers were the last hired and first fired. I think it's a misstatement. Also, going back closer to our times, they are claiming that Trump was attacking all immigrants. Not correct. He was always make that distinction. And I'm, as an immigrant myself, I was always listening to those words because it was directly affecting me. So I wanted to know, and never he said all immigrants. He was always stressing illegal immigrants are no, and yes, we're welcoming legal immigrants. And this textbook just paints all this with one brush. Also, a lot. So it's 5 pages, and our education department knows all about that. I think for me, it's beyond redemption.
So Maya, thank you for taking the time to be so thorough in your analysis of the material. And since you did create a document that was shared with the board, would you also be willing to share that with staff? Because it should, and we've now referenced it a couple of times. I shared it with staff,
didn't I?
It does need to be like publicly accessible, right? Since it's a document that the board has now used in making
how can
a decision.
I publicly share it?
Just get it to Brian and
But
Karina.
Brian has it.
Yeah,
I emailed
Brian
it to
and
him.
Karina. This is a more for the record kind of a statement that I'm making.
Okay.
Yes, because really sharing it outside of a board meeting isn't really our right protocol. It should be shared right here, as you just did. So thank you for that. Yes.
May I make one brief comment?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't care what your political perspective is. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. I don't care if you like Biden or you like Trump. I couldn't care less. But you're educators, and our responsibility is to present history in an unbiased manner. And what I've read here, between pages 946 and 954, 946 and 954, is fundamentally and clearly biased against conservatives and conservatism. And for that reason, I wouldn't approve this book at all. Thank you for the time.
Roger.
Couple of questions. What was the other copyright date?
If I recall, it's 2018.
Big difference.
Big difference. And that was something I was going to address. The closer we get to current time, the more controversial the content gets. And regardless of the textbook, regardless of the publisher, you see very similar responses from different people as they read the text, just to be honest. And that's why we really, I think we've talked about this before with the other texts, right? We teach our students, and we even have some of our teachers here who could even speak to this, right, to be that critical consumer. And we're going to put in front of them primary sources. We're going to have them, no textbook is perfect. No textbook is going to give us exactly what we want it to say. It's a money-making venture for publishers, right? And I will say that there isn't textbooks out there that don't have some sort of bias or is missing something or some sort of inaccuracy. We found it in one of the other textbooks that we didn't push forward before the last go around. But that's why our teachers, that's why we're looking for that to be called out. We're looking for it to be shared with teachers. We're looking for teachers to have that critical lens on the text, and so that when they put it in front of students and when they share the historical documents, those primary source documents, the videos, the news articles, especially when it's something that is closer to our timeline of where we're living today, right? It's more prudent than ever to have those primary source pieces coming through in the classroom and letting the students, see what was happening from all different perspectives of history. And so that's kind of how I would speak to that. And I don't know if one of our high school representatives in the room would want to add to that, or if you have a question for them, but that's kind of where I would lean towards. The closer we get to current times, the more controversial the text is, and it doesn't matter the book or the publisher, to be honest.
So if there are other source materials that we intend to use with that, could that be presented to the board along with the textbook?
I wouldn't know what those might be yet, but they would be probably supplemental. If they wouldn't be something that they might use every time. It would be something that they would pull here and there. But I definitely would say that whenever someone finds bias in a text, that's why we have that there, so we can give that to the teachers so that they have their red flags go up and they're extra critical of those sections of a textbook, and they're careful when they're talking about those topics in front of students.
Yes.
So in our board policy, we have two of them, and one of them specifically addresses what's in ed code, and that says that we need to have a balanced approach to these topics. So it's unfortunate that this book doesn't follow ed code, and it's unfortunate that a lot of the things that the state brings forward to us doesn't follow ed code. It happens a lot. Since I've been on the board, many books, especially the history books, don't follow ed code, and it's unfortunate. We also adopted a policy that if there's going to be no, I can't even can't say the word I want to say. Yeah, controversial issues. Yeah, and you've got to be able to talk about both sides, and if the book's not presenting it, it makes it very difficult. That puts a lot of work on the teacher to have to prepare all that. So I have my own concerns about it, but a 2018 book is probably not a good idea. So the other thing is, nobody's addressing the other book. I'm just against teaching AP European history. For that reason alone, I can't pass this agenda item, because I've said it before that we need to be teaching world history, not European history. And that's my opinion.
Okay, Darren.
I respect all of the comments that I heard tonight, with the exception of one. To call out that, or make the statement that we can't accept anything out of Columbia University, to me is, I can't get on board with that. That's almost as ludicrous as saying, I hate everybody who comes from country X or country Y. Just because they work at a university doesn't mean that has got some bad press recently. I'll bet you there's fantastic academics there. They could come up with a cure for cancer, and for us to say we don't want to accept it because it came out of university, of Columbia or Harvard, that just doesn't make sense to me. But I respect the findings of the group. I just take exception with that statement and cannot get along with it and do not want anybody to think for 1 second that I share that opinion.
Okay, anything else?
I think Columbia was the only university that we heard about where faculty was actually participating in protests as well.
It wasn't 100% of the faculty, it was specific members of the faculty. So to throw the baby out with the bathwater, to me, is just, it does not make sense. Look at what Russia's doing to Ukraine. Do we want to condemn all Russians? Absolutely not.
Absolutely, yes.
I disagree. I disagree.
Okay.
I completely disagree.
All right, well, let's try and just keep our focus on, okay, that's for over a glass of iced tea or something, you guys. Not at the board table tonight. But this text tonight, what do we want to do on this? This is discussion, possible action. Is there an action that we would like to take tonight? Does anyone have a motion? Do we want to do something different? I don't know what it would be.
Can you, I mean, I'm just suggesting, it seems like the topic is all about the first book. If you, if the second book, if everybody's okay with that, I mean, I don't have a problem with the second book on the content. What I have a problem is the actual discipline.
It's our meeting, it's our motion, so make
The
your motion.
quotes I made
It
came from
is-
the second book, and they were also in the first book.
You're saying
The sec-
European one?
No, I'm not talking about European, I'm talking about
Right.
Give Me Liberty.
No, we're talking
Yeah.
about the two books that are on this agenda item.
There's
And
two
it
AP
is
books.
absolutely fine to separate these if you would like to put a motion out there and, you know, if that's what you're suggesting.
I'm just saying that, right now to pilot, I mean, there's,
And it's
To-
okay to
to-
make a motion and then vote no yourself.
Okay,
Since I
well-
realize the situation I just put you in.
to pilot AP European history, when we have, we're going to buy new books, we should be teaching the subject that many schools are moving towards, because we're in a world, our civilization is worldwide. Yes, there's Western civilization that basically started us all, but our civilization is changing to a worldwide civilization. Why aren't we focusing on the world instead
Okay.
of just Western? This is Western civilization.
So
I'm
I'm
not
s-
against learning that,
Yeah.
but I'm like, if we're going to give our students a rich education, it makes more sense to be, anyways.
So
I don't wanna get on
I'm
a soapbox.
still not hearing a proposed action, and that to me means that I move to the next item and we see this back again, or some other thing that gets our job done.
I want to comment about the European history. World history, the book would be this big, and we couldn't get it done in a semester. European history is the cradle of Western civilization, I think.
I
Or
don't
at least,
s-
well, okay, Greece was the cradle, but European history is significant and important, and much of Western civilization came out of European history. I don't have a problem with that book and have it being taught. I agree with you that world history, the whole big picture, is something that needs to be addressed.
I'm just saying timing. We're
Yeah.
buying brand new books. It makes sense that
So Leslie, have we considered a shift away from European history to world history?
Each time Mr. Dome brings up this question, we go back to the secondary schools with the why, and I don't actually have that. I actually didn't anticipate this conversation tonight, being that we
sorry.
already passed these books a couple months ago, and this is just the newer copyright. But yes, I get a very lengthy response as to why we want to continue offering European history each time I do take it back to the team and ask, and I can put that in a future. I think I might have added that to a board update previous, but I can.
I'm not going to stop it from moving forward, but I just think this is like good timing, because it may be, as, I mean, our history teachers are retiring, and there's going to be
Different
there's going to
ones,
be a
different
new,
ones, different ones teach AP Euro.
I know, but let me finish what I'm saying. As they get together in a department,
Yeah.
feelings change, motivations and directions change by who's in the department. So it could be 5 years from now. Oh, we need to change this book. We need to be teaching something different. I'm just pointing it out. That's all.
Did we offer world history in the past that wasn't AP?
Yes.
I thought so.
A long time ago we had
Yeah.
a world.
Yeah.
That is the other thing to consider too with these
Do we
texts.
offer it now? Regular world history. Okay.
Not AP, not AP
Regular
world.
world
Oh, I'm
history.
sorry. I thought you were asking AP.
No,
Yeah.
no, not AP.
Yeah,
just
no,
world
yes,
history.
world history
so
is
for
offered.
board members who are interested in seeing to it that students take a world history course.
That already exists,
Already exists.
just not in AP format.
Right.
Yes.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I misunderstood your
No,
question.
that's fine, and thank
Yeah.
you for the clarification.
And that's also another thing for consideration here on these texts. They're following the AP standards.
So Roger,
Yes.
knowing that there is a world history class available and is taught, are you a little more comfortable with the European history segment?
For AP.
I told
For
you,
AP.
I had said that I would not stop it from moving forward.
Okay.
I'm just saying that this is really about timing, because there is a shift. I mean, if you look at a lot of schools, they're all moving to world history, AP, and not teaching AP European. That's what's going on.
Sean,
Just bringing up a
change
point.
the
You
temp.
also talk about
Do you know how to do this in
should
the
we
staff?
continue to offer AP courses?
I've said that too, but
Yeah.
Colder.
since we're in this culture of AP, it's not going to go away.
Roger asked that question. My son, he was a student, so do you think it's important to study European history? Do you need it? And he said, you know what? Or world history, because I remember that discussion from a couple of years ago. And he said, you know what? Everything that's important happened in the world, it all started or came from Europe, from Western Europe. That's what I thought, that everything of significance came from Europe.
Okay. Can I make a motion?
Go for it.
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have
This
two
should be
textbooks
interesting.
here. Let's separate them.
Okay.
Okay? Based on what I found in Give Me Liberty, I consider that textbook to be stained. It's biased. And I say this recognizing all the work that went into the piloting of this textbook by the staff. And frankly, I'm surprised that if they read
The new one.
this new one between about the year 2000 and the year 2022, that they didn't detect the bias that I did. So I'd like to make a motion that this book, Give Me Liberty, the second edition, is not adopted by this school district.
Okay.
I second.
All right. And Maya. Okay. Any conversation about that?
So I have a question for the future. Is it possible to find a textbook that was written by faculty that was not from notoriously infamous universities? So to find universities that were not in the news, that were the
I don't have an
authors.
answer to that question.
I'm not
Textbooks
sure
kind
that that criteria is one that's strongly used in vetting textbooks. It's probably the actual contents that's,
Or it should be.
of more significance. So we do have a motion and a second, and that is to vote no on Give Me Liberty at this time, the 2024 version. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We left out the other one.
We're going to get to it.
Yeah, it's gonna have to.
This
We're
is
gonna
one.
We're
It's
doing
going
them,
to be a second
we're
motion.
addressing them separately.
Are
Okay.
you in favor of voting no on Give Me Liberty?
I'm in favor of voting no.
Yes, I vote no.
Yeah, I realize that.
But that means I'm voting no on the book. So that's a,
We're gonna
Yes,
get to
yeah.
the other textbook. So you're just voting on Give Me Liberty right now.
mhm,
So no on the Liberty.
as it stands.
Okay. All right. That motion carries 4-1. All right. So, I don't know what we do about that now. Anyway, next item, I believe, is going to
So,
be the European.
to clarify.
Yeah. The board did not approve.
The
this
board did
book
not
at this
approve
time.
the 2024 book. The board did approve the 2018 book. So now,
Correct.
Ramona High School will purchase the 2018 book that already has been board approved. So to clarify, again, because that was really important to the board the last go-around,
Okay.
we will not be purchasing the most recent copyright. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
Yes, and I'd like to
Okay.
add one thing. Because we did this with the Savas book.
Yeah.
We sent something to the publisher, told them what we had issues with, and then they offered, oh, we'll rewrite the book. I think we should do that. We should send Maya's concerns to the publisher and see what they do. I think that's worth doing it.
So right now, does staff still have direction of the board to purchase the 2018 book, or are we expecting that to be on hold?
No, we do the 2018.
Back then I voted no for that as well. But I was the only one at the time.
I mean, we absolutely can reconsider the purchase of 2018 materials based on new information, and the new information, yes, we can. And the new information is that we have this new textbook.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. My
Which
only.
we apparently don't want.
Right. That would be my only, because of
understand.
FPM and Williams next year.
I understand.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a problem. So do we really want to buy books that are 6 years old? 7 years old by the time they get in the hands of students? Okay. I'm not getting any traction on that.
Well, here's the problem.
They're going to be brand new.
It, it's gonna be, here's the problem. It is my understanding that the 2018 book has,
Less biased.
well, it's got less years to be biased. How's that?
It's got a couple hundred.
A couple hundred? Well, 2018.
Okay.
US history.
All right.
Okay, so the board has taken action on the Give Me Liberty textbook for AP US History and decided not to support moving forward with the 2024 version right now. The vote was 4-1. I am the one. Now, this AP European History book, A History of Western Society. What do we want to do there?
I'll make a motion to adopt it. I said I'm not going to stop it. Is that my opinion? I don't have a problem with the book. I don't have a problem with teaching the subject. I just think that we're kind of at a crossroads. This is the timing to do it. But if the staff's not on board to make the change, we just can't make it. I mean, we have to have somebody teach it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Discuss.
Now we will discuss.
That book was not as bad as Give Me Liberty. By the way, the previous edition of Give Me Liberty is 2020. What I see
Oh.
it with me, it's not 18.
Okay.
It's 2020. It's on.
Okay.
I will try to yell louder. Okay.
Speak into it.
Okay, I also just. Okay. So this book, European History, what I saw was interesting in accordance with contemporary times. It was what I thought was racially divisive because it was speaking of whiteness in the context of medieval history and 18th century and some novels, and also was speaking about blackness in the context of Othello and Shakespeare, and I thought it was a little weird. Also, it was going into very salacious details of family lives, of medieval family life, birth control, extramarital affairs. I thought that's unnecessarily sexualizing children, which we see a lot, and against which also a lot of parents are rebelling. And I didn't understand why it was necessary to be that detailed and that grotesque in describing that aspect of medieval life. But other than that was interesting to read.
Okay. Thank you. Any further conversation on this motion, which is to approve the textbook History of Western Society copyright 2024? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No. Oh, I mean, I oppose.
One opposed.
Thank
Nay,
you.
okay.
That is a 4-1. Maya is the one.
Well, you were the one on the other.
I was. Okay, great. Okay, this stuff's making me want to stress eating Dan's cookies over there. Look really good.
Give her a cookie.
There's
So we're-
cookies.
I'm not eating them, so
Just
here.
kidding. It's fine.
We
See if
did
can-
confirm the 2020 copyright.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. Okay, so item F6 is approval of instructional materials for Health 7.
Ditto for Health 7. We're bringing forward, after a year-long pilot,
Right.
in a standalone health class, integrated in band, also having our PE teachers who will be taking health over, review the materials. We're bringing forward Health Smart Middle School Edition from ETR for adoption. Again, same rules apply as all of these texts have been reviewed.
Thank you.
I move approval.
Thank you, Roger.
I second.
Thank you, Dan.
This is one of the best. It's not perfect, but it's one of the best ones I've ever seen. To be honest, and
That feels
I
good.
applaud the staff for finding it.
All right.
That feels good.
All in favor?
That's
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
She
we
had-
just did.
She had a question.
That's why I was looking.
Okay.
That's sorry. Do you vote yes or no for this?
So no discussion.
We discussed a little bit. I mean, obviously, we're holding for your vote, so if there's something more you want to say, we're not moving on until we have your vote.
The question that there's also All Stars a year ago presented to us. What happened to that? Was it not piloted? Why are we not voting on that?
Was that younger?
We piloted both, and Health Smart was the one that was chosen. So when we pilot, we tend to pilot more than one set of materials, and then we choose, we score them, and we choose which one makes the most sense for our students in Ramona Unified, which one meets the standards, all of those pieces. And so All Stars did not rise to the top. It wasn't first place, for lack of a better way of describing the scenario, and Health Smart was. So that's why Health Smart moves forward and comes to the board for adoption.
It was very comprehensive, and it was that comprehensive that it was discussing all those topics that also parents currently are actively speaking out against, and parents are rebelling about all the gender identity classes, studies, and about going into great depths of family life, topics that are considered adult. It seems like some of the pages in those materials try to alienate kids from the parents. For example, there are some questions are asking, oh, if you have some pressure from your family, how are you going to handle this? Or so they're not directing kids to seek advice or support or help from the family. They're just asking, what will you do if family does this or that to you? And I see it as dividing, taking kids away from parental influence. It's also instilling too much of what I consider values and morals. And a lot of that is not health. It's all the same issues that I had with a course on health. I think it's teaching too much that's has nothing to do with health. For that reason, my vote is a no.
Okay. All right, so if I'm recording correctly, this is a 4-1 vote. Is that accurate?
I'm in favor.
Yes?
I'm in favor.
Yes?
Yeah, I haven't changed.
Oh, okay.
I have to say that early in our nation, Thomas Jefferson, when he made it clear that religion and academics had to be separated, he also made it very clear that we have to teach values and morals in the schools, that didn't go away. And slowly over time, it just kind of stopped being taught. And in the 90s, we brought it all back, the 6 pillars, So I think it's important that to make good decisions, that kids have tools to make them. And not all kids have the opportunity to learn those tools. And so I think the values that are being taught in this curriculum, I don't have any problem with them. They're just like the 6 pillars. They're really good. And I thought it was kind of refreshing to have them there, honestly. I disagree, but I totally see your viewpoint, because you could take it as, oh, it's taking away my ability to teach them as a parent. But I actually think, if anything, it enhances your ability as a parent, because now your kids are going to go home and say, hey, the same thing I've been learning in church is being taught in my class, just in a different way.
Would I see a problem if something taught differently, something in church and at home is taught one way and differently at school?
Well, that's always going to happen, no matter what the subject is. And this is the beauty of you being a parent, and you get to have those discussions. And so if you have, I'm sure Tony and I probably have some commonality in this, you have to teach your kids correct principles and let them govern themselves, and ultimately they're going to come and ask you questions, and you have to be supportive of your kids and simply say, well, what do you believe is right?
What I also have seen from history, during our early Soviet Union times, when schools were teaching totally opposite things that were taught at home, and then kids were rejecting their parents.
Yeah, I just don't, I don't see that happening in this case.
Well,
Okay.
I did see that happen.
So we did have a motion with a second, and it did pass. And while the conversation is healthy, and I appreciate the intention of informing the board on this, it is time for us to move on. So next section is G, Human Resources, and pulled from consent is item G2, and that's approval of social work field placement agreement. Is this Tony or Leslie? Okay, great.
We are recommending the renewal of a social work field placement agreement between RUSD and the University of Massachusetts Global.
Okay, thank you. We have one in place. This is a renewal.
This is a renewal. This
you.
university, we've had a long-standing relationship with them. It's Brandman University. That was changed to this, they've changed their name. You
Okay.
may have heard Brandman numerous times before. This is just renewing the agreement that has been in place.
I move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
And
Some,
conversation, yes.
Have some conversation, even though I really appreciate all the work that social workers are doing in our district, but and nothing personal against social workers, but in general, what I understand this contract does, it creates favorable conditions for the district to hire social workers. So we can place them as interns, and then we can just hire them permanently. But I think we have to start getting away from the massive presence of social workers and mental health workers on our school campuses, because I worry that it negatively impacts family connections. What I have seen and observed over time, that great increase in social workers on school campuses in general, and at the same time increase in mental health problems at the same time, and decline in the family, and kids are getting weaker. So I'm concerned.
Did you say that their presence, can you repeat that part
Yeah.
that you just said?
Would I see a great increase in social workers on school campuses in general? and at the same time, increase in mental health problems. I'm not speaking about our district, but I'm speaking in general.
Are you equating the two? Is one causative of the other?
I didn't say, I'm saying what I observed, the general
Okay,
tendency.
I just want to make sure.
Yes. So what I see, increase in number of social workers on campuses, and also increase in mental health problems. At the same time, and also decline of the family. And also I see kids getting weaker. So what I'm concerned, and what I observed, that the greater is reliance on social workers, the less likely the students are to seek connections with their own parents and peers. The less likely the parents are to seek solutions for relationship problems with their kids. So what happened to the notion of enduring hardships, overcoming difficulties, finding solutions on your own, relying on your own abilities and standing up for yourselves, all of which builds character and raises self-esteem? I worry that social workers and mental health workers replace parents in the role of trusted adults. And I worry that it takes the pressure off the parents to reconnect with their kids, find solutions, find better understanding with their children, which would strengthen the family overall. The Great Depression produced the greatest generation of World War II, and there were no social workers at schools at that time, and nobody was cuddling the kids. And some actually the kids remembered later that when parents were home, it was the greatest time. Didn't remember much suffering, so they appreciated parents being home. That was of value to them. Of course, I worry that greater reliance on schools and governments for basic needs enables parents to be less involved, which also contributes to decline of the family. Certainly, in some extreme cases, when external intervention is needed, when help with mental health is needed, it's a parent's prerogative to take their child to a counselor or a psychiatrist after school, like parents take them to a dentist or to a doctor or to any other healthcare professional. Healthcare, including mental health and emotional health, is a parent's right and parent's responsibility to take care of any healthcare needs of the child. For that reason, I'm opposed to creating favorable conditions to hiring more social workers that this contract would provide for us.
Thank you.
Call for the question?
Is there any other comment?
I'm just going to say, I just my own experience, it's not social workers that are the concern. The concern is everything else that was going on when kids all of a sudden didn't have school and they were at home and they were learning from social media. That's where the problem is. And so all the lawsuits against social media are completely warranted. That's where the really root of the problem is. Spending all your hours on video games, watching video games, other people playing them. It's like, it's just an absolute waste of time. And they were learning all this garbage, and they had 2 years of that. It was really awful.
Okay. Yes, anything more?
I want to vote.
Okay, me too. All right, so the motion is to approve the social work field placement agreement as presented.
How many social workers?
All in favor?
Aye.
How many social workers are
Any
we speaking
opposed?
Nay.
Okay, I believe that carries 4-1. You were a yes, Roger? You were a yes?
Yeah, it was an aye.
Okay, thank you very much. That carries 4-1. All right.
Are you asking how many social workers do we have in Ramona Unified?
Through this MOU, how many do you think that's going to be?
No.
We don't have any. This is just that if they contact us and want to place a student teacher, a student social worker.
Okay, and then the other thing is, how many social workers did we actually hire with all the COVID money? I know there
Not
wasn't
enough.
very many. That's my whole point.
We have currently 5, and we're in the upcoming year about to add another half because of equity multiplier money for Montecito High School.
And what's their caseload?
That I don't have the answer to on their caseload, but I do know that social workers and the counselors and all of our supports at the schools are feeling overwhelmed by the number of students and the needs of students right now.
If we have 5 and we have 5,000 students, that's 1,000. There's no way they can really do a lot.
Yes.
So I just don't think that it's quite as bleak as it may sound. And I think we need more to do more good.
Roger, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay. Next item is G3. That's approval of memorandum of understanding between Ramona Unified School District and California School Employee Association and its Ramona Chapter 733 regarding reclassification and revised job descriptions.
You have before you the MOU. We revised job descriptions for expanded learning assistant 1, 2, and site lead due to a change in management. They're in the Thrive program. There is a manager, the expanded learning program manager, and a supervisor now. And so we wanted to include that language so that both of those management positions can be in a supervisory evaluative position.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dan.
I'll second.
Thank you, Maya. All in favor?
Aye.
That carries unanimously. Item G4 is approval of memorandum of understanding between Ramona Unified School District and California School Employee Association and its Ramona Chapter 733 regarding adjustment to Article 18.2 entitlement to fringe benefits.
Members of the board, we have a MOU again with CSEA for regarding benefits. The change is that instead of 10thly deductions, it's being moved to 11thly. I'll say that. I believe that means 11 times a year. And we're asking for approval.
Thank you.
I move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Maya. All in favor?
Aye.
That carries unanimously. All right, the next item, G5, oral report summarizing recommendation for action on compensation for 3 assistant superintendent contracts. And Darren, you have a readout.
Yes, sir. This matter is held in open session of regular meeting of this board in accordance with the Brown Act. The Government Code Section 45953, Subdivision C, Item 3, states that prior to taking final action on executive compensation, the board must orally summarize the recommendation for final action on the salary compensation and/or the fringe benefits that will be considered. On behalf of the board, I will provide the compensation provisions and the proposed amendments to the assistant superintendent contract. A copy of the proposed amendments to which I am referring in the summary is available with the board secretary, Mrs. McMillan. After public comment, this board will consider and take actions on the items. The proposed amendments provide the following provisions regarding compensation. The contract term for Assistant Superintendent Tori Long shall be from July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2027. The salary for this contract in 2024-25 work year shall be grade 33, step 2 of the management confidential salary schedule, currently at $165,125 annual salary, advancing 1 step on schedule for each complete year working during the contract term. Item number 2, the contract term for Assistant Superintendent Leslie Wilson shall be from July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2027. The salary for this contract in the 2024-2025 work year shall be grade 33, step 6 of the management confidential salary schedule, currently at $182,267 annual salary, and advancing 1 step on the schedule for each complete year worked during the contract term. The contract term for item number 3, The contract term for Assistant Superintendent Tony Newman shall be from July 1, 2024 through July 30, 2027. There is no change in salary as he will remain at grade 33, step 8 for the duration of the contract term.
Thank you. That was.
This is your part.
I didn't even know I had a part to this. Okay, do we have any public comments on this action item before the board takes final action? I don't see any cards, and this is not labeled as a public hearing. Okay, so item G6 is consideration and action on recommendation for approval to the amendment to the Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services contract. Thank you.
Beat me to it. I second.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, Roger.
Questions, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just have a question. I can't remember how we did them before. Did we, on the contracts, did we put all of your, like we used to have a mileage stipend, did we just put it all into one amount? We did
think
that,
so.
right?
Oh.
So are they getting, are you guys getting a mileage stipend or are you getting a, that's kind of a bummer for them. We should have
Brian's looking it up. Yeah, I thought that we had consolidated those. I don't know where we got away from that.
I don't know, I just thought of it, it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
I literally just thought of it.
As opposed to specific reimbursement per mile that the.
Well, they're
GSA
getting
will-
you're getting a stipend, right? Yeah.
Okay.
We should consider that next time. I think, the more we can combine everything into one, it's better for them, for the retirement. And then the other thing about it is, then it's more transparent to the community, because it's just, it's all together, you question all the other things. So I think, that would be my recommendation, is just put it all together. But if it's, we didn't, yeah, sorry I didn't think about it till now. I don't know if everybody else is in favor of that. Just my thought.
So I had a question as well.
Yeah. Okay, Maya, go ahead.
I'm just curious, all those steps and grading steps, I think the amounts change year to year in those, right?
The what?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, so for example, a grade 33 step 8 amount a year ago was different than the same grade 33 step 8 for this year.
Yes.
It went up with
A step is a raise, that's,
So-
But the amount changed.
Yeah.
With the pay rate increases that were approved by the board.
right.
It went up by the same amount.
Okay, but still it's considered no change in salary even though the amount changed from last year. But it's still the same
We don't know that it's
grade
gonna
and step.
change next year.
But we're talking about comparing to what it was a year ago.
It's not a comparison to a year ago, it's a comparison to what we are currently making today. So from today, what was there last year? Was changed with the raise. What is being done today is moving along to the next step, effective July 1st. So it's comparing to today, not comparing to a year ago.
And it may or may not change in the next, in board action of the future that grants cost of living allowances.
Also, I was wondering, there's a huge budget deficit coming in California budget, so we're probably very possibly facing budget cuts. If we're facing budget cuts, I wonder how prudent is it to increase our expenses? Because if we increase our expenses now, usually when you face less money coming in, you not only freeze your expenses, you sometimes decrease your expenses. And here we're increasing our expense, and I worry that we'll have to lay off teachers next year if we increase our expenses now, or lay off maybe teachers more than we would have to otherwise. So I really struggle with increased expenses when we're facing budget cuts very, very soon, very significant budget cuts. Also, I was wondering that we're increasing salaries year after year. CASP results from year ago, from 2 years ago to year ago, 2021 to 2022, met or exceeded whatever norm. For English was 49%, for math was 31%. Year later, it decreased to 43% for English and 29% proficiency in math. And it happened all with additional COVID money we had. And I wonder, so we're increasing the salaries, we're throwing all the COVID money in that, and our CASP scores dropped from 2 years ago to a year ago. So I'm just concerned if more money is improving our education.
So right now, the way that it works is when there's a shortfall in the budget at the state level, it takes about 3 years to actually get to us. So we know it's coming, but we're not going to feel it for about 3 years. kind of right about this, right? It usually takes that to really, really start to feel it. You think? Okay. So, in the past, when it happened, we noticed that it was going on, but it didn't have a dramatic effect on us until about 3 years. Now that's our experience before. So maybe this is going to be worse. I don't know. But we'd have to have a negative COLA to actually have a serious problem. So I don't.
You also have to consider the fact that the district is in declining enrollment.
True.
So that coupled with, like for right now, the 0.76 potential COLA, that we are going to be receiving less LCFF funds potentially in 24-25 than we received in 23-24.
Right, but we'll do like we did before, and we consolidate and we reduce staff because we can't have extra staff to teach people. You know, we can't have small class size. It's super small, so it makes sense. We do that every year. We consolidate, and then we hire according to our class sizes and try to keep them all the same level. You want to add to it?
Yeah, I would just add that we are aware of the future years. The fiscal services always is looking at the budget 3 years out, the multi-year projection. So we spend considerable time in cabinet lately, every week and more, talking about not just this coming year, but the 2 years out. And the board has entrusted our Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services to lead those efforts. Cabinet works together on that, and Cabinet will be bringing recommendations down the road on ways to address it that the board will have the final say, of course, in what that looks like. But there are changes coming that we'll have to address. We do not know what the final COLA is going to be this year. Tori has done a great job of calculating everything and looking at where the shortfall is going to land, and we have to look at the calendar and do all kinds of planning for that to bring a plan back. But salaries for everybody right now and what we call their step and column increase across the board are calculated in the MYP right now. So these are what we call step and column increases, as well as all classified and certificated staff. And those are calculated into next year's budget and the following year budget as the multi-year projection. So there will need to be some work on that, and there will be recommendations that come to the board eventually.
Tori, based upon what you know right now and what you've heard, do you believe that we're going to be in a situation that there'll be a negative COLA coming?
I don't believe that there will be the potential for a negative COLA. I think it's going to be a very small COLA. Definitely not the 8% that we received in 23-24, but coupled with the district's declining enrollment, we are still on track to receive less in funding in 24-25 than we've received in 23-24 because of the decline in our enrollment.
Right. And then just one other thing, based upon other districts that are laying off like 200 teachers, why are we not in that situation?
I believe that not having someone in this position for a small amount of time could have potentially kept the discussion and consideration from coming forth. I can't really speak to what would have happened before I started here, but the deadline to make any type of layoffs in 24-25 would have had to have taken place in March. And, so right now we are on track for what we are staffed at now, and, and looking at that as going forward in the future.
So I think that, you know the answer as well as I do, that
We did not give a raise.
it was reasonable budget planning, exactly.
We also hired, we didn't hire permanent teachers. We hired teachers that
Temporary
were on one-year
contracts and-
contracts,
right.
or on contracts versus permanent employees. which really helped avoid that layoff situation.
There's a lot of very
Okay.
smart planning.
I do want to bring this back to this agenda item, and we do have budget talks coming up, right? Don't we have a special meeting in June where we approve a budget? So the time to have these conversations is at hand, but not with this item any further. We do have a first by Darren, a second by Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, we have a 4-1. All right, the next item is G7, consideration and action on recommendation for approval of amendment to the Assistant Superintendent of Education Services contract. Okay. I think we understand the concept here.
I move approval.
Thank you, Roger.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pardon me, which one? Sorry.
That was educational services.
Education services.
Assistant superintendent.
So it's the same as the previous one, just different superintendent, yeah?
Different person. Different
I have a
position.
problem spending money now. It's an A.
Okay. That is a 4-1. And the next one is G8, and that's consideration and action on recommendation for approval of amendment to the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources Development contract.
I move to approve.
Thank
I'll
you.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. All right, next section is H, Administrative Services, and we pulled from consent item H1, approval of contracted services.
The board item H1 has a list of multiple contracted services that we have brought forth to the board for approval this evening. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, contracted services. Did you have a specific question?
I just had a specific question, just question about benchmark hello contract because it has something to do with English language development for recently arrived students. And I used to be also an English learner at one time, and I'm just curious what kind of support for English language it provides, this contract. So what does it look like? Does it look like some teachers coming in every day? It's more time on the computer. What kind of English language development, what does it look like?
I can answer that. Benchmark Hello is for our newcomer students. So it is a conversational, very relational based type of English language development program for our newcomer students. It is not more time on a device. It is more time talking to their peers and within the class. So it's basically for non-English speaking students.
So does it look like they stay more in the classroom to talk, to speak with someone?
This would be designated ELD instruction for our newcomer students.
So they have more instructional time with dedicated, whatever you just said?
Correct.
So how much additional time, like an hour a day or an hour a week additional time?
It's different at every school depending on how they're delivering the instruction and whether they have a bilingual paraeducator or an intervention teacher delivering that. We do, in most cases, currently we do not employ a certificated teacher for our bilingual designated services because of the cost. In the past, it's just not been something that we've done. Currently, it's a bilingual paraeducator who supports those students. So it just depends on the makeup of the school and if they have that support system or whether it's somebody in their classroom, general education teacher who does it. But it looks different at elementary school across the board.
So the existing employee just dedicates some additional time to those particular students?
Yes.
One-on-one, or do they gather the group of students in that class?
It really depends on the makeup of the school and how many newcomers they have. In some cases, it's one-on-one. In some cases, it's 2, 3. Just depends on the number of students who are needing the newcomer program.
So, newly arrived, what period of time are we talking about? Are newly arrived like a month ago, a week ago, like
All
a
of
year
the
ago?
above, if they need the language support and they have no English language.
If they arrived a year ago, are they still newcomers?
No. and they wouldn't necessarily, hopefully, if they've been here a year, they wouldn't still be working on in Benchmark Hello, because we would have moved past that. This is just about them being able to have some sort of conversational Spanish so that they can actually interact with peers on the playground and in their classroom. It's really that very, introductory type of experience for elementary.
There's a budget for additional time for the existing person, so the budget is for, did you say?
No, it's not additional time for the person. It's within the regular school day. But yes, we support bilingual paraeducators with the budget. We use supplemental dollars that are for English learners, low income, socioeconomically disadvantaged, foster youth, homeless.
They don't spend more time on this. Why there's additional money?
So the way the financing works for schools is we have what we would call like our general fund, and then on top of that we get what's called supplemental and concentration money. Supplemental and concentration money are specifically for unduplicated students. Those that are called unduplicated would be your English learners, your low socioeconomically disadvantaged students, foster youth, and homeless. The reason they're called unduplicated is because we only get money for them once, but they might fall into that category more than once. So we get additional money to support those students because they're our most at-risk students, and that money can only be used for their supports above what our base program is.
Or if the employee doesn't where does this money go?
I don't know that I follow you on that question. Can you ask that one more time?
What does this money get spent on?
So
There's no additional time spent on that student.
So for this program, if you're talking about the money for this program, the program itself is Title III. The person is supplemental because it's above their general education teacher who could be giving them designated integrated. So we use the supplemental money to pay for those bilingual paraeducators or the intervention teachers, because technically we do not have to provide those services for students, but that is best to provide those extra interventions for those students because they are our most at risk, and that's what they give us the money to use it for. Did that answer the question? But Title III is specifically for this population of students. There's certain funding sources that we get and strict requirements that we have to use it for, and this meets the needs of those students.
Not exactly. I have to think about it later, because you said that employee doesn't spend more time.
They spend more time with the student, but the way I was hearing you say it was like it was in addition to the regular school day. It's not like these newcomers are there for an hour more than every other student. It's during that school day. So like their general maybe this is a better way to explain it. Their homeroom teacher. So if we talked about Mrs. Dillon in kindergarten, I know that you know who that is because she came through our line today, right? She would be the general education or homeroom teacher. We would pay her salary out of the general fund because that's our base program. We have to provide that for students. Our English learners in that classroom, who might be newcomers or English 1 or 2, who are going to see a bilingual paraeducator, that bilingual paraeducator would be funded under a different funding source because that's above and beyond what base would be, their base program would be. So we have different funding sources that pay for different people within our school district. And there's strict requirements for those funding sources.
We used to call those categoricals, but
Yes, they used to be before LCFF and LCAP came out.
they said there would never be any categoricals. Oh, there sure are.
Yes. There's all kinds of restricted money when they said there was not going to be restricted money. Agreed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Questions about any others? Okay, do we have a motion? This would be hopefully to approve
Make a
contracted
motion
services.
to move for this item.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Maya. All in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. All right. The next item is H5, and that's approval of declaration of surplus items from January 10th through April 19th, 2024.
Good evening, board members. Before you is a list of district-owned property that have been identified as no longer useful or serviceable. I would like to highlight that at the bottom of the list is a bus that had previously been identified as surplus last fall. The transportation manager has reconsidered and will be putting the identified bus back in service once some necessary repairs are made. It is recommended that the board approve this list of items as surplus so that we can begin the process of selling and or disposing of the items depending on their condition.
Is that a diesel bus?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Okay, I was just kind of curious. Does it have 400,000 miles on it?
I believe it is a diesel bus. It's definitely not an electric bus. I can attest to that.
I was just curious how many more miles it had left on it. You may not know.
I'm not sure. I
if you
can
let
ask
us
and
know.
get back to you on
At
that.
the end of this list?
Be curious to
Isn't it
know.
on this list?
I can put that in a board update.
Okay, thank you.
Also, question.
Where is it?
So understand when items are not usable, so they're not functional. But what does it mean if a table is obsolete, or a desk is obsolete, or a cart is obsolete? What does it mean?
It may be damaged and no longer usable and therefore needs to be disposed of.
If it's damaged, why it's not marked as
Yes.
not usable?
So like, if we approve it now, is it gone?
I would assume that that also means it's obsolete. I think it's probably interchangeable on items that are of that nature. I could find out and get back to you. But I would be hesitant on looking up every single one of these items that is marked obsolete, that isn't maybe technology based or something of that nature, because the list is quite lengthy and we do have a lot of items to either auction off or dispose of. There's a lot at each school site, as you can see from just this list last quarter.
So to clarify, you have an auction, you put all this stuff together and have an auction?
Depending on the items, they go to auction, or sometimes they get sold to the general public. Not all.
But we're not conducting an auction. We might do an online
Yes, that is
sale of
correct.
property.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that goes on a big pallet, and then they auction a pallet of Chromebooks for sale.
That isn't, considering the volume of material here, that's an enormous undertaking.
It is.
Do we ever realize a profit from this procedure?
Like
Not-
a significant income?
Not, profit's not the right word.
We do take in income at times from the sale of these items that we have deemed that we are no longer going to use, but a return on investment, perhaps?
No,
I would say
that's not
not
what I meant.
necessarily, no.
No, profit is the wrong term, but we do make money on the,
Yes, we do on some of the
materials.
items that we auction off, absolutely.
okay.
Okay, this is an action item. Would someone like to propose an
I
action?
move approval.
Thank you, Roger.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
I would abstain at this one because I still don't get why last page somehow.
Okay, that's a 4-1. All right, item H6, approval of acceptance of gifts.
Before you is a list containing one donation received by the district since the last board meeting. For Us has provided the district with $900 designated for the use of installing 2 eye wash stations, one at Ramona High School and one at Montecito High School. It is recommended that the board accept this donation.
I move to approve.
All right, Dan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That is unanimous. And Karina, for the record, that that previous action should probably be a 4-0-1 with the abstention, but we know that an abstention counts as a no. So, all right. Next section I, district operations, and I-1 is first reading of recommended changes to board policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements.
Good evening, Governing Board. Due to changes in Ed Code, we needed to make some board policy updates to Board Policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements. The attached board policy is listed for your review, and the recommendation is to approve as written. This has gone through secondary principals, the Director of Students with Disabilities and Support Services, Director of Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, Assistant Superintendent, myself, and Cabinet. The last time we approved this board policy, the original approval was in 2017. It was last revised in 2021. And is with California, we are making another shift.
So I have.
And one exciting thing I think that secondary principals were excited to see in this board policy is all of the COVID, I don't want to call them exemptions, but modifications to graduation requirements are being removed.
Good.
Yes.
Yes. I approve.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Under the, it's on the second page. I asked Brian already. He said he'd get back to us, so I'm sure you have the answer to this.
Hopefully.
It says 1 year, 10 credits of visual or performing arts, foreign language, including American Sign Language, or career technical education. My question is, I know it's 1 year of visual performing, but I thought the foreign language had its own requirement, and apparently not.
No, it could be any of those. If you wanted to consider the UC, this is where our graduation requirements differ from the UC CSU A to G requirements. So RUSD and the A to G requirements are pretty much the same with the exception right here. We are following or allowing what California allows, which is we just need 1 year of any of those three. A to G would be 1 year of VAPA and I believe 1 year of foreign language.
Okay. I'm not really comfortable with that, but I think it's first off valuable that everybody takes foreign language 2 years. I think it's super important.
It becomes a graduation barrier for some students.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing.
I had a question. It says in several places in good academic standing. What constitutes good academic standing? What GPA? What is it?
Where are you referring to?
Well, there are no page numbers, so how can I say it's page? Let me go back and count. Somewhere at the end. Gosh darn.
That's a good question.
Page 7?
Is this under
So there's number 1.
retroactive high school graduation diplomas? Is
Yeah,
that what
that
it's under?
page and also on the next page at paragraph 5. Said both, they say in good academic standing. So what do I understand under good academic standing? We need to define it.
Passing your classes, I would believe, would be in good academic standing at that time, or not in the way we've interpreted this in the past also is they weren't subject or at risk of failing.
Can we add some kind of definition so it's not subjective?
I wouldn't consider that subjective if they weren't failing. I would think that would be pretty clear.
So passing is the
Correct.
requirement. Okay.
Yes.
So provided they are passing their classes, can we replace it then?
That means a D minus or higher. Even though I wouldn't consider that good academic standing, but
'Cause passing it could be all.
I believe this is all education code. I can double check that for you, but at the very beginning it says, in addition, the district may retroactively grant high school diplomas to former students who, and then it lists all of the education code that this refers to here. In particular, those are COVID years, and so there was a lot of education code and stipulations that were presented for those COVID years to provide that flexibility for those students who had to be at home when we were shut down or had to learn remotely.
Do we have to follow ed code?
Ed code, we
by
have
word?
to, yes, we have to follow ed code by word.
Okay. In this case, let's replace student experiencing homelessness with homeless youth, which is like it's in the ed code. In the ed code, it says homeless youth. So foster youth, homeless
Can you
youth.
tell me where you're pointing to?
It's in several instances, which would be the first one I found on page. Let's go back again.
They're not numbered.
Students experiencing homelessness is within
5.
30 days. That's a part of ed code, right?
No,
So,
ed code says actually.
so the education code 51225.1 is not quoted correctly here?
That's correct. I double checked several times. That's homeless youth and child. But we don't have to follow word by word, or do we? But it's actually sounds better in this context. It's more streamlined if we put homeless.
We really
foster youth, homeless
try to not define it as the child and about what the child is experiencing. When we call a child homeless, we're defining the child as a homeless child versus the experience that they're having at that moment. That's why it's used in that frame.
Do we or do we not have to follow?
We do
Ed
have to
code.
follow ed code.
What code says homeless youth?
I think you could go with either pupil who is a homeless child or youth as defined by section.
Yes, there's nothing that says experiencing homelessness in the.
And I think that's just new language where there's probably something different somewhere that now tells us we should call homeless children as students experiencing homelessness, so that we're not identifying it as that child, but the situation that they're in.
So something superseded the ed code then?
I would have to look into that more. It's just language. It's more, it's less identifying the child in that way. I mean, if the board would rather call him a homeless child versus a child experiencing homelessness, that's up to the board.
So we call the child foster youth, for example, child experiencing
Up to the board.
fosterness.
I'm fine the way that it is. You're addressing the situation, not the student.
As am I.
Yeah. I think it's better that way. I mean, the ed code is cited right underneath it. It's
Yeah.
not an issue.
Having said that, I'll make a motion to accept, approve this.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right.
I'd like to
Converse.
discuss
question?
one
Sure.
change.
Okay.
How did I know?
So,
Computer science.
we have a new graduation requirement coming up on 2030, which is ethnic studies. Should we just add it in and say as of 2030? Because it is going to change it. We know it's coming. As of 2025, we have to teach it. As of 2030, we have to have it as a graduation requirement. I'm just thinking it might be a good idea just to note it and then say, you know, this will be effective on 2030.
You know, Roger, I appreciate the intent there, but
Just
I
saying.
wouldn't at this time, even knowing that this board policy will be reviewed again in the future with that change. That's actually a good thing. There's a lot of meat to this board policy, and I would like future boards to have that opportunity to review it in entirety.
It's fine with me. I'm just saying.
Good point, though.
And I kind of wonder if by the time it goes, whether it will end up being actually credits versus just a course.
Yeah, we don't know what that's actually going to
Yeah.
look like.
Okay, all in favor?
Getting new governor and everything.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that is unanimous. Item I2 is first reading of recommended changes to board policy 5127, graduation ceremonies and activities.
Board Policy 5127 comes forward tonight also. Graduation ceremonies and activities was last adopted in 2004. There are some changes in Ed Code that have been addressed in bold. The recommendation is to approve as written.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes,
What's
Maya.
graduation exercises.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
What is a graduation exercise?
Yeah.
Like a promotion or a graduation ceremony. In
So
our
it's-
case, you've been to graduation
So
ceremonies.
it's same
That's
as
the-
ceremony?
Yeah.
Okay. So why call it differently then? Different than ceremony.
Why is it called graduation exercises? I don't know.
Instead
it's
of
just
graduation
custom.
ceremony.
It's been called like that at all education levels for
I never heard
a
that.
long time. Yeah.
It's kind of anything to do with the graduation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not just the ceremony, maybe also the practice for the
senior
ceremony
breakfast
or any of those.
Something, yeah.
So it's a rehearsal.
Could be.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, over here. So, as soon as I saw this, I brought this up to Brian. On the page where it talks about tribal
Yeah.
regalia,
Under graduation attire.
I think that we need to broaden that because we have people of different races, cultures, and ethnicities, and it should actually state all of that. That way it includes everybody. Because this is being very specific, and although that supports us because we have Corona, however, we also have, and it happens all the time, we have people in our district of different cultures, races, and ethnicities, and if we're gonna allow it for one, we should allow it for all.
So where it says, or recognized objects of religious or cultural significance as an adornment to the customary ceremonial attire, how would you want to change that to add something more?
I just think that, the way that, so for example, if you, I mean, right now we're allowing it all, so it's not really a problem for us. But I think, it might be a good idea to say, just to recognize, maybe if we just say, students shall be permitted to wear,
Why don't we just take out tribal
Yeah,
and
tribal
leave
is kind of-
regalia or recognized objects of religious or cultural significance?
Kind of covers it.
The only thing it doesn't cover is ethnicity.
Well, I
Could
mean,
that fall under cultural
I would
significance?
think so.
Not necessarily.
Okay. So could we say or cultural or ethnic significance?
Yeah, we say it like that.
Okay.
That'll work.
And with that, do you move approval?
Yeah, that was the only thing I noticed.
Okay,
It just
Roger,
sounded
with the
awkward.
first.
Oh, really?
Can I?
That's what I just asked. With that, do you move approval? And you said yes.
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Oh, I thought you said that's a first for me.
Okay. Are you moving approval?
Yes, I am
Thank
moving
you.
approval.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Maya. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That carries unanimously.
Can I get one just clarification because I want to make sure I do correct it.
Sure.
Or recognize objects of religious or cultural or ethnic significance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds
perfect. Comma instead of an or, maybe.
And when that's updated, I'll send that on a board update just so you see the finalized
Thank
one.
you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is I3, first reading of proposed revised board policy number 7214, general obligation bonds.
Good evening again, board members. I'm bringing forth a revised board policy as well. We are bringing forth proposed revisions for board policy 7214. The policy was originally adopted back in 2010. Since then, there have been several changes to the recommended board policy template. The template changes reflect new laws and regulations that have been enacted since our last board policy adoption. The revisions have been reviewed by Cabinet and come to you tonight as a first reading. The recommendation is that the board approve the revised policy as written.
Thank you. So where did you pull this recommended language from?
From
source?
CSBA,
Okay. Any others or just CSBA?
just CSBA.
All right.
I had a question.
Yes.
Just didn't understand something. Page 1, 2, 3. The board shall provide the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee with responses to all findings, recommendations, and concerns, and so forth. So I wonder, we as a board, we don't have all those answers. Can't we just replace the superintendent or designate like in other places? Because we don't have all answers, who can't provide all the responses and findings and recommendations, would have to ask superintendent or designate anyway to find this information. So why, because in previous paragraph it says superintendent or designate will ensure, but the next paragraph says that the board has to provide all the information.
We don't have to actually hand it to somebody. We give direction for staff to do so.
Okay.
Yes, the intent here is to keep the board informed from the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee that is meeting regularly on the progress of the bond and issuance and projects of the actual physical projects, to keep the board informed so that the board can then respond to those findings and the progression of the monthly meetings. It's really put here to make sure the board is informed on what the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee is seeing.
So information will be provided to us, and then we'll provide this information to the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee?
Yeah, this is specifically talking about financial audits. And so the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee will be involved in looking at those costs throughout the year. There is an audit and a performance audit. This touches on both of those, financial audit and a performance audit, that is required, and that all information comes to the board for the board's input, so that the board's informed. Because the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee are just citizens of Ramona.
Okay, so we'll get this information then, and that request will be sent to all board members.
Requests?
Yeah, because there's a response. It assumes that there are going to be some responses to what? To questions.
Responses to all findings, recommendations, and concerns addressed in the performance and financial audit. So they may come and say, for example, you put in a elevator that cost $5,000 more or was $5,000 less, and so we want to make sure the board's aware of that. Or the audit may show something in there, so they will present that, make sure the board's aware of it, and then the board will just make sure that that's addressed. It's not necessarily questions. It's just going to be different issues from there.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm 100% ready to approve this today, but where it talks about the indebtedness, that's actually the second page. It talks about the construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, replacement of school facilities, including furnishing, all that. The acquisition or lease of real property. So it goes into all of that. A couple concerns that we have had over time, we've never had a bond. We've only had a COP, which I did not vote on because I was not here to do that. And the concerns that we've had with construction and stuff is we get the worst contract ever. So we'll go through the contracts. I think somehow in here, we say that whatever construction we're doing, that the contract benefits the district, because they don't always do that. They're usually in favor of the contractor if anything goes bad. And then all change orders should come to the board and be approved by the board first, no matter what. That should be in my opinion.
Regardless of dollar threshold?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question, but typically they're like what happened when the fires happened, and then we didn't benefit from this tragedy. Other districts did. Instead of the change order I think the law was, or maybe just the traditional process, the culture was 10%, up to 10% for a change order. But then the way the law is in catastrophe, it can go up to 15%. So these contractors were purposely going up to 15%, even though they didn't have to.
Right.
And so I have some concerns about that, and I think this is the place to write it in, because the bond overseeing committee, they're going to oversee everything. We need to be able to say if they catch something, it needs to come back to us, and that should be the process. So something like that. That's the only thing without going through where that would exactly be. I just have a concern about that.
I'm not sure there's any harm in taking another month to work on this a little bit longer, but we probably don't want to drag it out too long.
Does that make sense, Tori? Know what I'm talking about?
It makes sense what you're asking for. I will probably seek the opinion of legal to make sure that we are in the confines of ed code with that, and just to make sure we're okay. But it seems reasonable. If that's what the board would like to see, we can make an amendment.
If it's up to me, and this is, I guess, slightly off topic,
Don't worry, I'll bring you back on.
When we approve contracts, we make it very clear when they're bidding for the contract, no change orders.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
what
will,
that's
can
like.
speak to
No
the
change
If
orders.
it's possible, but
There are various,
Yeah.
there
Oh,
are
yeah.
various
Like that.
contracts
I
when
know.
doing large construction processes. There's a leaseback provision where a general contractor will contain a project and for a agreed upon price. That includes all the change orders, so that RFP is very specific, and that will be there'll be recommendations through the administrative services, but that will be up to the board. There are, and those vary each time they come for various reasons. I've shared with the board a little bit about, there's performance bonds, and there are fees for deadlines that aren't met that we can be aggressive with at times to assure that projects move forward, and that's with the input of their past people that they've used, and that's really incumbent on district staff to find that out and to bring those contracts to the board, and they may vary at times. There's leaseback. There is just doing a regular contract that may have change orders with very specific guidelines.
and you would also have to consider if we're mid-process and there has to be a change order for whatever reason, if we're having to have every single change order approved, construction could possibly stop dead in the water. And that could cause possibly more, we could incur more
Which is why I was
costs.
suggesting maybe we wanted to have some sort of a dollar threshold to this, so that work could continue, but it be reported to the board, maybe at a certain dollar
Or
amount.
when we do a bond
Excuse me.
for construction, we get an insurance policy for that entire project to be done, and in that insurance policy, it covers change orders. Something like that. You can, when you're building, you can get, they call it a bond, don't they?
So, at this point, it seems that we might wanna take a little bit more time with this
Yeah.
board policy, is that correct?
But you kinda know what I'm thinking. Yeah.
We
I did
could
a couple of
definitely
more
look-
remarks about
explore
this.
it.
We just wanna protect the district.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen so many bad things happen, and not necessarily in our district. I mean, where I work, they put solar in, and then it ended up costing them like thousands of dollars more because they didn't realize
will
what
have
they
it,
were
right.
agreeing to.
The time it matters.
So, that's what I
So, it says,
Is there anything that?
just a couple of small things.
Sure, go ahead.
The board may appoint a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. May, it means it's not may or may not appoint? Or maybe shall?
Where do you see it?
Shall is more appropriate?
I think you're right,
Board shall appoint Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. If that's something we highlight, it's going to be a mandatory thing, because may is not a mandate. May,
It would depend too on what type of bond that you are seeking to pass. It's not a requirement for both types of bonds.
okay, so, also I see bond, 55% bond and 66, but I think school bond only requires 55. Why there is a 66% bond in this policy? For what occasions? When is going to might happen?
That was a former structure of bond passage and which ones you use. You and I learned about it at a conference. There's a Prop 49 bond that is much different, and that there's different thresholds. If your bond resolution passes at anything less than a 4-1, then you're required to get 66% still. So that's why they have both
Also, the
situations here.
requirements are different from 55 or 55% bond versus
So
66%
if our board
bond.
votes,
Different
would
requirements.
vote, for example, 3-2 to move forward with a bond on the ballot, the threshold would be 66% for the election outcome? Okay. All right. And at 66%, a bond oversight committee is not needed?
I don't
Am
know.
I
It's
understanding
not
that?
required.
Okay.
So it's not required for which, for 66 or for any
66.
bond?
66.
Yeah.
So I'm not hearing substantial changes to this at this time. Is there anything that we could do to revise this and get it passed tonight? Or is this something that we really do need to wait a month on?
I think as long as, for me, as long as it says that, the contracts will be, supporting, or.
Pick a
I don't know
spot
how
to
you
put
say
it in.
How you'd say it, but more supportive of Ramona and the contractor. You don't have to say it that way, but that's my logic. And then that the process is change orders over whatever amount comes to the board for approval.
Can you pick a spot where you think that could go?
Hand in the mouth.
Boy, you guys ask a lot. Let me go to it.
I mean, at what point are we comfortable? Is it,
It would just be where it talks about the bond indebtedness,
so
because that's where the debt would go up.
specific to change orders? Throw out some numbers and let's say, yeah, I can support that, or no, I can't.
Like, are you good with $1,000? Are you good with $5,000? Is $10,000 the amount we're comfortable with giving staff the discretion on a change order? Is it $3,000?
Yeah, we do have a contract, a general kind of blanket contract for various roofing projects and those things that we've changed in the last 12 months that says any change orders need to be approved in writing. We had the other ones that just said approved, so a verbal okay from a district staff was okay. It does say now in writing, so it has to go through
So can we put
admin
that in
services.
somewhere?
So of course we have that
It's
in
already
our,
in for
our
contracted
general
services.
contract right now. But as we look at contractors on very large projects, those contracts may vary depending on different variables that admin services will look at, and the board will see those depending on the history of the particular contractor and all other kinds of things. But if the board, right now, those change orders have to go to admin services in writing. If the board would like those to come to the board as well, and we pick a number, I would just recommend it be a little bit higher, depending on the situation, because
say
that would
like
be could be a month out. So
50,000?
I'm even
could it
thinking
be a
like
percent?
10 or something.
I
Yeah, it
don't know,
could be
I'm
a
just throwing a
percentage.
number out, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And it's something that it's something that we don't
Or
have
it
to
could be-
decide right now.
Right. Could it be that change orders, so does the language about change orders being in writing, does that need to be here, or do we have a board policy that includes that somewhere?
So no, we will. There's a couple different avenues. We have a contract template that we use right now that we've modified, and that handles our minimal projects that we've been doing. When we get into big construction contracts, we're going to look closely at those. We're going to get input from other entities, the county office, because performance bonds are a big part of that, meaning if the company does not perform what they need to, we recoup dollars and all those things. So there will be some work on another almost boilerplate, but it will have some flexibility. And best example I can think of is with past contractors. If there's issues with timeliness or things, then we push for a larger performance bond or a larger penalties for things where things aren't going well, or we consider lease back if it's a very large project where they get the property.
The board would be approving those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So specific to change orders and the comfort level of the board with change order and processing of change orders, do we have a board policy that describes at what point the board needs to be involved in the approval of a change order?
I'm not aware of one right now.
Okay, so we may want to consider a revision to a board policy or a new board policy that covers that. I don't know if this is the place for it or not. It
Might
could
not be.
It could be.
Can I recommend that staff bring some of that information? I think it may be important to have a span.
Yep.
For some contractors, we may have a very low threshold for a change order based on their previous performance of what we've heard. For others, it may be different.
Right.
And so if we have a board policy, we would have to, if we were going to go below or above that,
Right.
we'd need to
Right.
work with that. So it may
Yeah.
be important to have a span, and we can look into that to see
Yeah, let's
how other
find out
districts
what board
work around that.
policies we
Mhm,
have, if
mhm,
any,
mhm.
and, you know, what the route is for the board to be aware of change orders that are, you know, significantly increasing the cost of doing a project. Yeah. So do you want to approve this tonight, knowing that we're gonna
Well, I just
delve
want
into change orders and?
Yeah, I just think the thing that Maya was saying, I wanted to just read
Yeah.
this one statement, because it is, I did see it in here. If a district general obligation bond, it says the 55%, it's right there. It already
Yes.
says that there's gonna be an oversight committee.
It shall. She was asking about the 66%, because on a 66%, vote, then it's not required. And so the language there says may. And are we good with that? I'm good with that.
I think it's fine. Yeah, I think it's fine. It's, and
Okay.
then it cites the ed code.
And
with
you
it.
know what? And we can always, if at some point we're dealing with a bond that requires a 66% threshold to pass, and we want a citizen oversight committee, and we want to make that a requirement of that kind of a bond, then we absolutely do that.
I think it's
Right?
wise to do it,
Mm-hmm.
so, no matter what.
Agreed. So are we asking for any revisions to the board policy that's presented here tonight?
I don't think so. I think mine can be, put most likely as part of another policy.
Okay, great. And Brian, did you stick it in your notes so that we don't lose that and we follow up on working on that?
Specifically the 66 or a flexible?
No, just about change orders and how those are handled.
We'll add that, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, it seems that we may be able to pass this policy tonight. Is there a motion to do so?
A vote approval?
Thank you, Maya.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hallelujah, we got there. Good job, team. Wasn't sure that was gonna happen. Okay, and I am relieved to say we are now on item I4, which is our superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, President Perfect, members of the board, and the public that are left with us tonight. This being Teacher Appreciation Week, and from a district perspective, we really honor all our staff. We did the barbecue today to invite everybody down. We know there was some amazing celebrations going on at our sites to honor teachers this week, and Classified Week is in a couple weeks later. But I just think it's really important to recognize this amazing amount of work, and I know I touch on that probably at every meeting, but coming into these meetings and reflecting on all the work that goes into this and what's going on in the district, just want to speak to that a little bit. Just reflecting on the last 2 school years. This is our last school board meeting of the year, and I just have to bring up the powerful work that our employees do every single day. A unique role where I have the privilege of being able to be in different areas throughout any given day, along with cabinet, where we might be in an old boiler room one moment, then we'll be out on a field, then we'll be on a roof, or we'll be in watching a TK classroom or an AP class. And it is an absolute privilege, but I also feel like it's our responsibility to help spread the word of this amazing work. And so our staff is just consistently looking for creative ways to support our students, not just instructionally in the classroom, but in the big picture. We all hear of things that are going on that are just representative of other things going on we don't even hear about consistently. So just every single person, from our para-educators, custodians, office staff, food service, transportation staff, Thrive, grounds team, I regularly walk away from our sites just thinking how fortunate that we all are to go get to hear and see these amazing situations and circumstances, but really believe it's our responsibility to help share that as well. The certificated staff dealing with our students on a day-to-day basis and all the things that they're dealing with from parents. We heard some situations this morning that are being dealt with that Corey shared from our certificated staff on just things that they're handling for our students and helping to intervene. Our administrators, also a dynamic group of leaders who support this work and bring those things to us and to shoulder at their sites every day as well. And we're just extremely grateful for that work that goes on. And it's just looking back over 2 years, those are the kind of the big rocks in my memory and my experience here of looking at this monumental task that our staff does every single day. And that is all really supported through a board, through union leadership on both CSEA and RTA that recognizes that work and helps to really honor our staff and all those things. So I just want to express that. It's just something that's been on my mind the last probably month or two as we're coming to a close. Also want to take tonight to definitely thank Natalie, who's still here and has been staying for all of our long meetings. I don't know if I've seen a student that stays so long at board meetings. And so Natalie, thank you. Yes, absolutely. She's right there. So, and just all of our staff, our tech staff that brings all these meetings together. Of course, Karina, who orchestrates the whole thing from beginning to end, and but just our board as well to lead these just service-minded experiences that we provide for our staff, students, and families every day. So, thank you all.
Very nice, thank you. All right, Maya.
Looking forward to all of the graduation ceremonies and exercises, I guess, yeah. And also I did attend the dance show. I was very impressed. Last time I did see the dance performance 2 years ago. I missed it last year, but I was able to attend it this year. Also was able to see that closet in the library with for basic needs. What else? I try to attend every open house. No reason not to. And of course, award ceremonies, as many as I can get to.
Very nice, thank you, Maya. Roger.
Yeah, I'm also looking for graduation. My last child will be graduating.
Oh, congratulations. Wow.
Exciting.
Yeah.
When I had my third child, I came to work and they're like, "Was that planned?" And I'm like, "Yes."
God's plan for you.
But yeah. To and invitation one.
Okay.
I just want to thank the teachers. Even though it's Teacher Appreciation Week, I just wanted to say thank you and for all that you do. And I think the greatest thanks that a teacher gets is when a student tells them thank you, and when a former student calls them up and you made a difference for me. It's because of what you said, what you taught. That's really what makes the difference. And so hopefully that's happening to you. So I have concern with that, and so I talked to Brian about it, and I'm investigating it, and I just want to report out what I found out is that JPA, our JPA, has insurance for all levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But of course, their risk manager is going to say that they release the numbers, but they are insured. I've also found out our GPA, when I asked him, how many claims has there ever been, or how much litigation in international trips? The answer was 0. Never. The other thing I found out was, I asked them, I'm like, well, how many claims do we have for local field trips? That would include all sports. So anything in curriculum, which is extracurricular, co-curricular as well. And the response was, the only litigation we've ever had was car accidents, or van accidents, bus accidents. That's it. So at least that they can recall. He explained to me that it's extremely rare. I found out that the JPA has an insurance company that they use. They use the Cadillac, which is Alliant AIG. And so I have reached out to them to see what the cost would be for an entire district, and I'm waiting for that to come back, and I'll report that to you. Their recommendation is if you have that and you have the JPA, it's a good idea. And if it's of super minimal cost, you need to know what it is. I think that's just good to know. I did find out that on international trips, it's like, depending upon how many go and how long, it could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for the insurance to cover everybody on an international trip. But anyways, when I find out the rest, I will let. I just think it's.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate you putting the time in to understand that. All right, Dan.
Thank you. I think this board really ought to recognize extraordinary accomplishments by our students. Natalie, you mentioned earlier tonight a young man who broke a 40-plus-year-old record hurdling. I forget the young man's name. Can you share it with me? Sterling Bryant? All right. That is an extraordinary accomplishment. And I think of all the hours that young man put in training, hurdling high hurdles, I assume, Coach? High hurdles? Okay. I ran low hurdles, and they didn't have a chance. I knocked them all down. But the point being that an accomplishment of that magnitude ought to be recognized by the school board. And what I'm proposing is that we invite him in next month with his coach and recognize what an accomplishment this is. So I'd like to put that on the agenda.
Thank you. All right, Darren.
All right, a couple of items here. Congratulations to all of our Teachers of the Year and Classified Employees of the Year that we recognize tonight. Just a short duration of time that we get to recognize them, but boy, they're doing this day in and day out. And I would ask that we all remember that we had, I think we had an employee, we did have an employee, this is her first year, and she's employee of the year from that site. That's a commendable thing. I really want to congratulate Tara Davis from the high school and from Ramona High School, and Jill Dillon from Barnett for being our district classified employee and teachers of the year. That doesn't come easy. Those are just many years of proving to their peers and administration what great work they do. And based on personal experience, I can tell you both of those two are extremely deserving. They do great work, and they are incredibly deserving and really represent the superintendent and every one of us in this room at the highest level. So congratulations to them. Open houses this week that I was able to, this week and last week that I was able to attend were really fun and magical. But I really want to call out Hanson for their efforts at open house. It was fantastic. It was, the campus was on fire. The students in certain classes were in costume. They were incredibly proud of their accomplishments and had activities. The teachers were in costume. There was standing room only in Mrs. Ferguson's class. I mean, you really had to weave your way through so many people in that classroom. Kudos to Han. Kudos to all of our sites, but Hanson specifically. So Dr. Thurman, if you would please pass that on to Mr. Rogers, I sure would appreciate it. Just a couple more things. I'll try to make it quick. The care closet at Ramona High School and how it's expanding to the middle school is something that I want to, that me and my family want to get behind. It's extraordinary. It is the baby of a member of our community, and I would encourage all board members to reach out, tour the facility, and see how we can support it, and then encourage our friends and neighbors and family members to also support it. It's a magical opportunity for this community to get behind some kids who are truly in need. And I can't stress that enough. And I'm so grateful to Marcy for taking the lead on this. She's a force for the community, and we get to benefit from it. Congratulations to our valedictorians tonight. That's a lot of hard work. Talking about hard work, they are great representatives of our organization, and please, if we have the opportunity, congratulate them in person. And then we had a handful of retirees. It's not too late. You can still pull your paperwork if you want.
Just board approved.
Well, congratulations to our retirees for your service to my kids and the community and all of the children in our district. We would not be as successful of an organization if we didn't have dedicated people like the ones tonight who we recognize. So thanks very much.
All right, very nice report, Darren. I too had a great time with the open house situation the past week or two. I did make it over to Barnett last night. That was really wonderful over there. I think I missed a year at Barnett, so it was nice to be out there again. And yeah, lots of parents, and it's just so fun to see the kids being so proud of their classrooms and what's going on in there. I also was trying to make it over to Ramona Community Campus for their evacuation drill, but that day just got crazy and I could not. But I was at home doing some Zoom meetings and business phone calls, and so I could hear what was happening. Oh, Catherine left, but I could hear what was happening, and it sounded orderly from my house. It didn't sound chaotic. And it seemed to go quickly because a short while after there was lots of children playing on the playground. So I thought, wow, that was pretty fast if we finished that whole drill in that, I don't know how many minutes, 20 or so maybe. Yeah, I'm reassured to know that we are doing that at all of our sites, and I'm going to try and make it on the next one, whenever that is. Yeah. Palomar College came to Ramona with a big team of their key staff members and leaders to discuss with Ramona Unified how we might improve the relationship and community college opportunities for our students and community members here in Ramona. We had conversations about dual enrollment and courses that made sense to offer. It was a really nice few hours that we spent together. We toured CTE at Montecito High School, and we also toured over at Mountain Valley Academy, where Palomar has invested in having a presence there, an office with a staff person and a computer lab, and courses have been offered there before. So I'm very excited to see where that might go moving forward. Lots of complicated things to work out. It sounds easy until you really start digging in, but it's definitely worth the effort. And last thing on my list here, and I'm embarrassed to say that I cannot find my papers for this. I keep looking around like maybe I've dropped them here, but Lieutenant Malin comes to every community planning group meeting and gives a little report there early in those meetings, and Maya attends many, Dan as well. And last time he mentioned, and I'm probably going to get the name of it wrong, I'm going to call it a Young Women's Youth Academy with the Sheriff's Department that I think is 14 to 18. And I had the flyer, I grabbed the flyers off the table when we left that meeting, intending to bring them. If we don't already have that, I will get the information. It is in June, so it's coming up pretty fast if there are any of our high schoolers that are interested in that. So I'll get that to you, but it sounded like a pretty neat opportunity, and he was excited about it. So I'll get that out.
And that would correspond with our new fire class as well.
Yeah. All right, so that concludes my report. And, you know, as I was making my way through this last page, I realized why Roger thought that I didn't open the meeting, and it's because I didn't tap the gavel like I usually do. So I will, to close the meeting, and just say our next regular meeting scheduled here is June 13th. We are going back to closed session because being at it for almost 6 hours isn't enough, and we would like to do some more. But we do not expect to have anything to report out. With that, our meeting is adjourned. Okay.